Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, July 12th. It is now 6:04 PM. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Mark, will you lead us in prayer?
Father, we thank you for that we live in this great country. We thank you, Lord, that we have representative democracy that we have. And we thank you, Father, that we have the laws of the land to guide us. And we pray, Father, that we follow those laws. Father, we also pray that we do your will as we go on through this life. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Jay, who's going to pledge allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Licciardi will be here momentarily. Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Bourget?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
Quorum is declared. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes of the June 21st, 2022 regular town council meeting.
Move the consent agenda.
Second. Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, first reading of ordinance amending the zoning map of Appendix A zoning ordinances of the town of West Warwick designating tax assessor map 18 lots 59 and 61 as Mill Reuse Development District, also known as Mill Reuse Overlay District.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Moving second.
Mr. Chairman, all I want to say is that the matter was before the planning board. The planning board made a favorable recommendation to the council. I have filed a copy of that recommendation for your records.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Philip Primo. I'm an attorney with Roberts, Carroll, Feldstein and Pierce. I'm representing the applicant, Mr. Brandon Havener this evening. He's also the owner of 60 E Main LLC. We're here asking for you to amend the zoning map to designate 54 and 60 East Main as Mill Reuse Development District, AKA Mill Reuse Overlay District in the comp plan. The language differs a little bit. Pleased to be here to discuss this matter. It's already received a warm reception. As Mr. Solicitor said, favorable recommendation from the planning board a number of weeks ago. Briefly, just by way of background, with respect to the subject properties, 60 East Main and 54 East Main, they're adjacent parcels. They're both about a quarter acre. Each has a two-story mill building on it, built turn of the century, 1900 and 1908 respectively. The larger of the two is at 60 East Main. It's about 17,000 square feet. The smaller, which is immediately adjacent, as I said, is about 4,000 square feet. Both of these parcels are currently zoned commercial industrial. They've both fallen into a state of disuse and disrepair. They've changed hands a number of times in the last few years, with consecutive owners not being able to make real productive use of them. And without taking anything for granted, I just want to use the opportunity to sort of look ahead briefly at the nature of the proposed project that the applicant would ideally like to see develop here. And that is to kind of rehab and renovate, modernize these structures, at the same time maintaining their distinctive cultural character, which is obviously the purpose of the Mill Reuse Overlay District to begin with. So it checks both of those boxes. Kind of more specifically, what the applicant eventually envisions here is that the larger of the two parcels, that's 60 East Main, would be split between a commercial and a residential use. So the basement level will be used as a storage facility for luxury and classic vehicles. So it wouldn't be a parking garage. You wouldn't have a lot of egress and ingress of vehicles causing congestion, things of that nature. This would be for vehicles to go park, temperature controlled, things of that nature, more upscale. And then the first floor of that property would just have a small landing. This is all reflected in the materials that you've received. The upper level would have 6 dwellings, each with 2 bedrooms. On average, these units would be about 900 to 950 square feet. So they're pretty sizable. And then the adjacent structure, that's 54 East Main, would be for purely residential use. It would accommodate 4 dwellings, each again with 2 bedrooms, an average about 800, 850 square feet. And in both instances, the residential units here, He's envisioning elegant, upscale, ample parking, a lot of introduction of many plantings to the premises to beautify it, so on and so forth. And so just to kind of transition, speak briefly to the fittingness and the benefits of the amendment that's before you. We believe that it's in harmony with the spirit, the intent, the objectives of the whole scheme of municipal improvement and development that are set forth in the zoning regulations and the comp plan. I mean, first of all, obviously, the preservation of the historic built environment. This development that's envisioned wouldn't it would rather retain all the architectural design, the scale, the exterior building materials, the color, the roof line, the elevations, all of that would remain as is. You'd have the benefit of a rehab of an historic building for housing purposes, which is set forth in the comp plan in numerous points. Facilitation of reuse and redevelopment of these historical mill structures that are now in a state of disrepair, especially these two, which really has been no other successful attempts to make use of them, expanding and deepening the tax base, and of course, diversifying housing stock. Again, all these points set forth at different points in the comp plan. There's no concern that the project that would be facilitated by this amendment would prove detrimental to the neighborhood. In fact, we think that it would really amount to an improvement of the aesthetic quality of the area. As I've already said, the applicant plans to introduce plantings, to increase green coverage, to put up a scenic fence, to otherwise beautify the property and to prevent glare into any neighbors, if that might be an issue. It's not all inconsistent with the character of the neighborhood. There's already a number of dwellings here that were grandfathered in. There's no fear of disturbing neighbors. This is relatively low intensity, low impact. There'd be no issues in terms of parking. As you can see, there's a parking space that provides for 16 off-street parking spaces, which is 1.5 for each unit. And with respect to those stored cars in the basement, as I've said, they would only be entering and exiting occasionally, so you wouldn't have constant flow of traffic that would possibly disturb neighbors. In sum, the amendment that is before you, we believe would facilitate an aesthetic and an economic benefit and improvement to the immediate neighborhood and to the town of West Warwick overall. At the same time, you'd have the benefit of retaining, preserving, and even improving to a certain extent the historic built environment, and also promoting growth, which are hits on some of the key aspects and goals of the comp plan and is consistent with the zoning ordinances and the general scheme of municipal improvement. So welcome any questions if you have any at this time.
If I may, just to put it procedurally in perspective, what my brother has laid out to you is to assist you in what they are planning on doing.
Yep.
You are not approving what he suggested. Your goal tonight would be to change it to a mill reuse district. Once, and if you do make that change, what my brother has suggested, then goes back to the planning board. The questions about parking or access or what have you, those questions get determined before the planning board where they can get into the detail. So I just want to make it clear that you're not being asked to approve this plan.
Yeah.
You're being asked to enable this plan to go forward for further review.
And thank you for giving some explanation on that. I know I met with Brandon a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Probably a little over a year ago. And he was putting windows in, doing solar and let me tour the building with him and his vision, and brought me up to his office, showed me everything that's going on. The basement's beautiful for what he did for, like what you said, for the cars that he plans on putting in there. I think personally, it's definitely a pro for the neighborhood. I know there's concerns in other sections of that neighborhood that we are trying to get resolved. And, in that mill, as it was vacant and empty, was filling up with either people living in there, trash getting thrown on the property, and he's keeping it maintained. Obviously, onto the, if you're looking at the front of the building to the right, development's going on there. So there's definitely a lot of development in the area. And I think it's definitely a pro, and I think Brandon's vision, and I know this is one of his very first projects, but he definitely has a good vision, and I think it's good for the community what he wants to do. And I think that, I think he can handle it personally from my conversations with him. Does anybody else from the council have any questions?
One question, I guess you talked about 4 units and 6 units. Any idea of what the cost of those units would be? And
I
I'm
mean,
not to hold you to it, just to give you talked
yeah, I mean,
about upscale.
obviously, it's just, I mean, market rate, but I mean, his intent is obviously not for it to be, I said that in order to dispel any possibility of, subsidized housing,
Okay.
something of that nature. Yeah.
Okay.
And, if you look at the architectural drawings, and again, not to jump too far forward to Mr. Solicitor's point, this will be handled at the planning board stage in more detail, but, he's taken great lengths to make sure that this would be kind of a little bit of an upscale nature. And, they're relatively spacious. They all have 2 bedrooms. And I think the idea is to potentially try to pull from to get a commuter base going to Providence or going to the T, maybe heading to Boston. So again, kind of part of that idea of making West Warwick, potentially a hub for commuters going forward, and the benefits that would inevitably bring in terms of, the economic and commercial life in the town.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment on the ordinance? Just come on up for the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Thank you. Thanks.
Ross Adrian, 37 Brayton Street, which is near the property mentioned. Just received the letter today. My only thoughts on this is, first of all, the renovation of those 2 buildings which have been dormant for about 100 years would be a great thing for the neighborhood, okay, and probably good for our tax base. The only thing I'm suggesting, as long as you're rezoning, that you bring the drainage of those properties up to code, up to current town code and ordinance, and also respect the DEM restrictions too.
Thank you, Russ. That'll all be in part of planning and moving forward. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
I apologize. I just got in, so I'm going to refrain from voting on this.
Okay, Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilman Bourget?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you.
Second reading of ordinance amending Appendix C traffic ordinances, Sydney Street and Sheffield Avenue.
Move approval of the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion, Al?
This second reading, Councilman Licciardi had requested 4-way stop at Sheffield and Sydney.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilman Bourget?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Business licenses.
Recuse myself.
Move approval of the business licenses.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Any public discussion on any of the licenses? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The Portuguese American Citizens Club, Portuguese Holy Ghost, the PIC, PASC, the Holy Ghost Carnival, the Holy Ghost Parade, American Sports Club for a light parade, Fall River Financial, Casa Tia Rosa, Caitlin Walitson, renewal of mechanical licenses for all renewal of mechanical licenses have been approved. And that is it. So if you're here for a license, they've all been approved. Oh, it's Festus. Can't believe we're already saying it.
Appointments and resignations. Appointment from Jerry Leet for appointment as full member to the West Warwick Zoning Board for term ending July 2027.
I would move approval of the appointment of Jerry Lee.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion?
The only question I would have is what other boards Jerry might sit on? This is one that I believe you can only sit on this particular board. So I would,
Zoning is only allowed.
One
on
board.
zoning.
exactly. So I'm not,
He's on at least,
Is he already on? He's already on this board.
He's an alternate.
He's an alternate now, but as a permanent, he's gonna have to get off the other board.
what's the other?
What is the other
he's on?
board?
I think it's sewer use. Or no, it's either tax assessor or
Appeals board?
yeah.
appeals board. It's either sewer or a tax assessor. I
So
don't know
do we,
which
do
one.
we have to wait until would he have
I mean,
to, could he resign if we appoint him, or like, how does that work? Like, do we, does he have to resign first? I mean, no,
If you appoint him to this,
Then he just-
whatever date he accepts the position,
okay.
he'd have to be resigned from the other two.
From any boards, any commissions, anything. Okay.
Zoning, you're only allowed one.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
He may change his mind after he hears that, so. Is Jerry here?
No, no.
That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
For the record, I didn't vote on this. I cannot vote on this.
Councilman Licciardi will be recusing from 1 and 2. Correct?
Correct?
I know that it's a recusal, not an abstention,
Right.
correct? Just want to make sure. Request from Paul Villa for appointment to the West Warwick Planning Board as alternate member for term ending July 2027.
Move the name of Paul Villa for appointment to the planning board as an alternate.
Second,
Moving second, any discussion?
No, I think Paul actually would make a great addition to the planning board.
Paul served many years as in the West Warwick Police Department and finished his career as our police chief. And I know he's in the back row and I've always worked with him. He's always been cordial, professional. And he knows he's grown up here. He knows West Warwick. So I think he'd be a great asset to the group.
And he already likes to attend the meetings.
That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Chief Villa.
Yeah.
Great. Did you want to move something into this?
Yes, we'd like to move Mega up if possible, because I think they're here, if they're here. Which one is that? 13. 13. If we can move 13 to 1.
make a motion to move number 13 forward.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll go to 13.
Consideration of mega performance and review as requested by President Goslin.
All right, I know we've seen emails go around, text messages, whatever, about Mega in general. And one of the things that has been brought to my attention and, you know, and that's, and I know I'm always calling Nicole, and I know DPW is getting calls, but it seems like it's the same mistakes week after week with the same addresses. I've had residents send me videos of the trucks knocking the barrels down and driving away, leaving them tipped over with garbage still in them. It's just, and I feel bad. I mean, but I garbage cans going missing. They're going in the dumpster, and then we're responsible for getting new ones for them. I have, you know, an elderly lady who has a smaller barrel. It seems like it's always missed or taken or disappears. It's been years, and we have Main Street, Washington Street. It's just the same residents constantly calling, and we're just not getting any
And I know
result.
that yard waste isn't really
And I was getting,
prevalent at this exact moment, but there's definitely some issues where, you know, one of the things when we switched over to Mega was to you know, have it picked up on the same day. And if it's, you know, 24 hours, it's not a huge deal, but there was times in the past couple months where it was, you know, the next week. And especially in this kind of weather, if you leave it out there and it gets wet, it's pretty disgusting to leave out there that long. You know?
and the town manager, I know yourself, Nicole, everybody's had meetings with them, and it seems like it goes smooth for a week and then right back to square one. And that's why I put this on the agenda, because it's, we increase every year by 3%. The contract calls for it. We're paying good money. You know, I was an advocate for privatizing garbage way back then to get the one-armed bandits in along with Councilman Giroux and whoever else. And I'm almost ready to say, once this contract's over, let's go back to doing it ourselves, because we're not getting results sometimes. And at least if we're doing it ourselves, we're going to get results. And, you know, I know we have a 3-year contract and it's renewable, gets 3% increase every year, but I don't see anything in there that says you're going to be penalized for not doing your job. And, you know, it's again, it's not fair to the taxpayers. It's not fair to the same people calling, and then they're getting backed up trash. They're getting 1, 2, 3 weeks worth of trash. They fill it up, gets dumped or missed, and then we get the phone call at 4 o'clock. They put it back out the next day. I understand sometimes it's location, it's right on the line, but it's the same residents every day, every week.
Yeah, and it's never going to be, an occasional, there's going to be hiccups occasionally, but when it's the same, resident.
I expect human error,
Yeah.
but when I have the same
One
person
specific one.
calling me every week,
Yeah.
or I'm going up, or Nicole's going up, emptying somebody's trash and putting it in our truck to go bring it somewhere to get rid of it for them, it's just not fair. It's not fair to the residents.
So I agree with you, and Nicole works diligently on trying to rectify those situations as they come up. And unfortunately, we have experienced a fair amount of repeat offenses, if you will, or mishaps. I asked Nicole to invite the representatives here, and I know at least one is. So I'd like to give him the opportunity, not necessarily to make excuses, because I think
I just want to know how it's going to get
we're
fixed.
beyond that, but we're obviously better off striving for solutions and mutual agreement.
Correct.
My name is Jim Simino, obviously a representative from Mega Disposal here, and I'm aware of the problems, particularly the yard waste falling at least a day behind. And like I said, I don't want to make excuses. There's no excuses. It is summertime. There are vacation, sick days, so we have substitute drivers in there. And I think that contributes to the repeat. They miss it the first week. We're putting it on our route supervisors to train those guys. And sometimes they have the opinion, oh, I'm only doing this for a week because the guy's coming back. And it's the pride in the job. And we take pride in our work, like I said, we do 10, 12 municipalities in Rhode Island, and we take pride in it. But there's no excuses, like I said, between the yard waste being late and particularly the repeat, the same stops over and over again. There's no excuse for that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, there are errors. You miss it once. It's up to our route supervisor to get to those drivers and say, it's around the corner, it's behind the bushes, it's behind the parked car, whatever the excuse is, you know what I'm saying? And we know yard waste had fallen a day or two behind. That's the third in our pecking order of trash gets done, recycling gets done. And then any problems with trucks or drivers, you don't have the routes, you don't have the personnel, it's the yard waste that ends up faltering at the end there. And like you said, in the summertime, it's one thing when it's March, April, and it's another thing when it's July. And, 3-4 bags of yard waste, gets stinky pretty quickly, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not here to make excuses. We need to do a better job. And I think communication has been there. Like I said, we met with the town manager a few weeks ago, a month ago now. So again, between substitute drivers, things like that. We just need to work it out. And like I said, put it on our route supervisors to check those areas. If 12 Smith Street was a problem last week, go check it next week, because make sure it's done. It's not the repeat ones week after week, so.
Yeah, the Main Street one, that has been consistent for like a year.
Yeah.
And she calls, she was messaging him, she would message me.
And then I know she calls Nicole too. Yeah. And that one, I know that sometimes and she's diligent. She has her camera. So she shows us like it was beyond,
She
the
puts her
car.
barrels out, and it is the Main Street, and there is cars parked there,
Right.
but she makes sure there's enough space.
Yeah.
And she puts it out past the car.
Yeah.
Which is,
So they can see it.
but so they can see it.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of times, and I think the video was sent over to you, where the guy he was just moving the stuff around. I don't know if he's having a truck malfunction.
Yeah.
But he knocked it all over and left.
Well,
That same night, I got 4 or 5 calls between Douglas Street and that, with
Yeah.
trash cans getting destroyed, wheels getting busted. I'm like, what was this guy doing?
And that is on us. If the bin gets dumped into the truck, that is on us. We replace those. The town shouldn't replace them.
So what happens there when you have the smaller bins? And I understand you have the arm is normally getting the bigger bins up,
Yeah.
has to come in smaller. You
That's
dump
the
the bin
problem.
and you lose it in the truck.
That's the problem.
Do you have replacement bins?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Sometimes the small ones we don't have. 95 gallons, the big ones, no problem. 65 gallon, no problem. If it's smaller than 65 gallon, then that's where we have the problem. It's just not tight enough on the
Right.
grips
so
to dump them.
if that is an issue, and we all know it's an issue, then why don't you have them on hand?
Well, the 35, like I said, we don't, most towns are 95, 85% of them are 95
Yeah.
gallons. So 10% of 60.
Wait, there's
Hardly ever.
a third size?
35 gallons. is
Yeah, I'm
small.
talking about the next size down, the smaller size down.
Size.
Yes, you have them on hand.
Yes, yes.
So if.
Now we
if-
got black for trash, blue
And-
for recycling.
So if
no,
we-
run out.
So if if somebody loses a bin in the truck, which it happens, I'm not
Yeah.
complaining about
And that
that.
goes to the maintenance of the fingers and the
But
arms themselves.
All I'm concerned is when I have to go out in the winter time and take somebody's garbage
Yeah.
from their porch after 4 months of being told the bin is coming, a bin is coming, that's when you have an issue.
Yeah.
And of course, we go through the chain, we go through Nicole, who is
Right.
really gonna hear all the complaints, and she's just the messenger.
Yep.
And she doesn't want to hear our complaints. And then it goes to you guys, and she's gonna trickle back to us and tell us this is what was said.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't happen, she looks bad, we look bad,
Absolutely.
the people are on us again.
Yep.
And that's my issue, is a lack of communication.
Yep.
And consistency. This week, well, 4th of July was Monday, and the guys came out. Garbage and trash was skipped a day. So my day was Tuesday, typically. My day is now Wednesday because of that week.
Yep.
Yard waste came and got picked up on Tuesday. I got so many calls to say, I thought everything was now on Wednesday for this week.
Right.
So,
People didn't have it out.
right, so it's good to be early, but in this
Except for
case,
the week before,
but in this
right?
case, no, because if you're expecting like a bus to come and pick you up at a certain time.
Yep.
And the bus comes early, bus comes at 4, they're supposed to be there at 5, it's great, they're early, but you're thinking that they're gonna be there for 5 o'clock and
And
they're not.
especially right now when we're
It's-
every other week, so now they're gonna have to wait 2 more
Right.
weeks instead of just one.
So
It'll come back around on Wednesday to
Correct.
pick up those extras.
correct, so I'm honestly, I'm just looking, I understand things happen, it's not you, you have many people that work for you and many issues that go on and you're trying to keep track of it. But again, it's the consistency of, it seems like we're very inconsistent, and it's not just Ward 4.
No.
It's been all over the place, but it's been a lot.
Yep.
Like, I don't have the same people calling me saying, my garbage wasn't picked up today. It's many different people at many different times. So it's not like that one person on 5 Elm Street is saying, they missed it again, they missed it again. It's all over the place.
Now, is that a
So-
skip or a delayed a day or?
It's
any calls you get?
the garbage is picked up on Tuesday, and they're not there on Tuesday. So how come?
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer.
Right.
And I know Nicole's not gonna have an answer.
I think the
So-
biggest thing is the reliability of the route supervisors, that somebody, specifically Nicole, for the most part, is able to make contact and there's appropriate follow-up consistently. So we don't have those repeat offenders. I mean, the buckets disappearing in the back of the trucks, to me, that seems like a no-brainer. The driver is going to know when he puts it down that nothing's
Exactly.
coming down.
So let's
He should
replace
be
it
able,
the
he should
next
be able
day.
to radio or
Right.
write it down, and there's an efficient process to get it replaced before the next
Yeah.
cycle for
Agreed.
pickup.
Even, and
not
that process
weeks
is
and
on you,
months.
though. That's
Not
not,
weeks
all
and
I
months.
care about is the people have a trash bag and it's picked up on a certain day, and that's it.
Yeah, but even the trash
That's it.
barrel itself, we had it here. You guys just went off on vacation. I was standing here in town hall and a lady was going to look for you at your office. And I asked her, can I help her with something? And she said, yeah, I've been waiting 3 weeks for a garbage can because they swallowed mine. And I said, who's they? She says, the garbage truck. But I called Miga. Miga said, that's the town. The town says, nope, that's this one. And then everybody, so she was getting the runaround. I made one phone call. She had a trash can in 5 minutes. She lives on New London. She went right off New London, picked up the trash can and brought it home. So, she went through 3 weeks and we couldn't even supplement her something. And she's just gathering trash and whatever
Where to put
else.
it in.
And the resident that I have down in Phoenix, cat litter, whatever else, she keeps her house clean. But guess what? The outside now is filling up with cat litter and whatever else. And, it's just, it's frustrating that we get the same calls from the
And
same.
I assure you, we don't want to have to micromanage this
I
or
don't
be
wanna.
involved. We don't want to have this on the agenda. You know, I think it came to the point
Garbage
we
is
had
snow
to.
plowing, right? I mean, that's what.
Garbage,
you know.
100%. That's what the town sees every day. They don't see the police every day. They don't see the fire, but they see if their trash is picked up. They see if the roads are clean. They see the bike path.
In Ward 5, I have never got any complaints about garbage or recycling. The biggest complaint I get in recycling is the bins should be picked up every week if they want to encourage recycling, but that's a town thing and we've already had that discussion. So the garbage, the yard waste on the other hand, it's supposed to be every other week for yard waste.
Right now, but in the spring, it depends on the month, but right now it's every other
Right
week.
now
Yeah,
it's every
yeah.
other week.
Yeah.
Last one was, we get picked up on Tuesday. It was 2 weeks and then 3 days after that. So people obviously start getting upset at that point because the bags fall apart and then
It's already been 2 weeks. It's already been
the
10
bags
days.
break, the stuff stays there, they gotta clean up afterwards and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I do want to give Miga a shout out for last fall, and I'm sure Nicole will remember this, because we had such a warm fall. A lot of people are still doing yard work beyond the last pickup date,
Yeah.
and she made some phone calls and they went out and picked up, even though it was beyond the date they were supposed to. So I will thank you for that and show some appreciation.
Those are the times when we have the extra men and the extra trucks. It's just the summertime, you know what I'm saying, when, like you said, the vacation sick, the trucks, the arms, I mean, to fix the arms, you have to put the truck down for a few days, 2 or 3 days, a substitute truck, you know what I'm saying, that the driver's not used to.
And overall, you've been here since 2015, I think, right? We've been using Miga definitely since I've been on the council. And I mean, I think overall we've been satisfied. It's really been
Just lately.
more recently, and we understand that there's staffing issues. But to tell us a resident like your trash isn't picked up because of staffing issues, they pay their taxes that, we pay you and that's where it comes
Bin
down
went
to.
away, where's my bin? That's all they know.
Yeah.
What's the latest that you go out? What's the latest you stop at night?
Oh, we don't stop till the job's done. Till the job's done. The landfill closes at 3:30. If I fill a truck after 3:30, I can't dump it, then I dump, then I'm done then, you know what I'm saying?
So you dump, all right, so once you fill the truck
Yeah.
after 3:30, then it
The
stops.
landfill closes at 3:30.
So that could be 5, that could be 7, that could be 8.
So they know to dump at 3:00, even if they're not full, to come back. And then, I mean, then you're talking, it takes you 3 hours to fill a truck anyway, so which would be 6:00, but,
Okay,
it's the way to dump, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
after the 3:00 times.
okay.
One other
And
issue,
plus we have time with the hours too. They're restricted to 12-hour days, 60 hours a week, DOT.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. Oh, why don't you make it up on Saturday? They run out of hours
Yeah.
eventually. You know what I'm saying, and you look down and, oh my God, who's got free hours? You want to go with the West Warwick and finish the yard waste on the Saturday, you know what I'm saying? So,
Okay,
we're just up against it, like,
okay.
and the new hires and getting people with CDLs in and things
Yeah.
like that,
we understand those
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
One issue that I seem to have in Ward 1, we have a number of one-way streets that are narrow, which I'm under the impression that you would be using a smaller truck to be able to get that, so people don't have to drag their garbage across the street. But it's happened 20 times so far,
Supervisors have those pickup trucks with the bin on the back that they can dump the carts, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, every town has them. Some towns have 3 streets, some towns have 15 streets, you know what I'm saying? And
we have a number of very small,
Yeah,
tight streets. There's
yeah.
no doubt
we
about
have a
that. but-
truck that's all they do. Unfortunately, they go to Cumberland and do 4 streets in Cumberland on Tuesday, then they go to North Province and do 5 streets there, then West Warwick.
But that's a situation where these people, it's happened to them dozens of times, and that just doesn't
You gotta cross the
make
street, you gotta
sense.
pick it up
That's
across the
correct.
street, back, and
Yes.
then park cars on top of it. So,
So can we rectify these issues?
oh, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, there's no
mean,
doubt about it.
I think part of it is like you said, communication, especially if you have new drivers on routes. I mean, we've dealt with this, you brought up plowing in the winter. If you happen to have a new driver or a private contractor and, it's part of our directors to inform the new drivers, hey, this street is tricky. This
Don't forget this
this
stop.
street continues to go over here and this street has a weird curve. And I think that's part of the, if you know these streets are issues to not have them be repeat, because obviously mistakes can happen once in a while, but just to.
The drivers are experienced driving, but not in West.
No,
Warwick,
but I
not
don't
in
mean
the
that,
route,
but I
not
mean
in
experience
the-
with that specific
around
route in
the
those
corner,
houses.
yeah.
Yes.
Hey, double back to this woman, she puts it out late, she put, things like.
Well, that's an
that.
issue. If somebody puts it out late, then that's on them. That's on
I'm not
them,
going
yeah.
to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
to
It's a
that, but-
supervisor, as the town manager
So-
says. It's like, so don't bother the spare driver and tell him all the 5 little stops, but go do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Make sure they get done or.
One of the things that I'm just looking for is rectifying the constants.
Yeah.
That should be going away. They should not be having to call somebody every Wednesday or Thursday. And then secondly, if something happens, I know things don't run smooth every day. If the truck breaks down or whatever, that needs to be told to the town immediately. So then that's sent out to the councilman of the area, because we're the ones who are gonna get the call 6 o'clock at night. And then I feel bad because we're the one texting Nicole
And I
saying,
know if you didn't let Nicole know, she'll 100% put it on the town's Facebook or the town's
Believe
website and
me,
let us
with
know.
operations, the intent is always to get it done, whether it's like sending a truck from another town after he dumps out and he's done. There's always the intent at 10, 11, 1 o'clock in the afternoon to get the job done. And until 3, 4 o'clock, like he's out of hours, he's gonna leave, he's got something to do. You
So-
can't find a spare driver.
So were you aware of all these issues coming in?
No, just general issues with the yardways had fallen behind, and then we had some carts being dumped into the truck. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying, so I was aware of that, because that's a kind of a maintenance issue, and we gotta have the carts available, blah, blah, blah.
So I know you're here representing and you're not out on the road doing the physical
Correct.
work. But how do we, after this meeting, I know the intent is going to be to
Yep.
rectify the issues. What if the issues are not rectified?
But I assume we have a-
Because another meeting to say, what's complaining about this is going on, this is going on. And you're here to say, yes, we're trying.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it's not going to fly. So what do we do? How are you going to rectify these issues?
Well, like I said, I'm gonna go back and speak to the problems. Like I said, it's not that we didn't know about the problems. People have known operators, the supervisors know about them. And it's holding them accountable to what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that's all I can say in terms of delivering carts. Usually within 24, 48 hours, we can get a cart to people. Now, if it's a 64 gallon, I don't have one. Hey, here's a 95 gallon until I get more 64s and
Okay.
stuff, whatever. You give the residents something to put their trash in for the next
Okay.
week. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that needs to be, but part of what I think I'm hearing is that you may have a capacity problem and maybe cannot meet the demands you have. I mean, are you
No, it's
comfortable
like I
that
said,
you?
it's the drivers, like I said, I've been in the business 30 years, and you always account for vacations and trucks breaking down, and we got spare trucks. It's just, that part is on the boat in Long Beach, California, circling, it can't land. It's a wire harness and it's a $200 part, and I have the truck down here, use the substitute truck. He's not used to it. I need to put laborers on the back because it's a railroad, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole big process where if it's out of the norm, the driver's not used to it, or a substitute driver, you know what I'm saying?
So if your driver knows there's an issue,
Yeah.
what is, with
Supervisor that should know.
whoever it is, if they know there's an issue with all of Main Street,
Yeah.
what are they doing? What are they saying? How,
They should be here, if it's a truck's here early in the morning, they should be here mid-morning to making sure that the bins are on the sidewalk, the bins are emptied. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I mean, that's what.
but if issues come up on your end
Yep.
and the drivers are out there and they know they're gonna have problems, they're not gonna either get to a street
Yeah.
or they hit a trash can or they broke a trash can, whatever, what do they do? What is,
Communicated to the supervisor that
okay,
parked car, this happened.
okay.
We have cameras on the truck. There's 6
Okay.
cameras on the truck.
And what does that supervisor do at that point?
Report it to the operations manager to say, hey, listen, I got these 2 stops. The bins got lost. Or
All right, so what does the operation manager do?
fill out a route sheet. So we have these bins, give it to the guy who delivers the bins, you know what I'm saying, that truck,
Okay.
that route.
At what point is there communication from you to the town?
Or hopefully it's the operations manager that
Okay,
conveys it to the town. That
and
says
they'll call Nicole.
it should be called.
Is that Mike from Mega?
No, that's-
Yeah, please.
That's Victor, that's,
just state your name for the record.
Nicole Knott, Solid Waste and Recycling Coordinator. So I actually this week had a sit-down meeting with Mike Nunes, who is the Operations Manager for West Warwick for Mega Disposal.
And that's who the supervisor reports to
So
with
he-
issues. Okay,
Yes, so Mike is always my direct contact every single day. And I know he gets my list daily or communication daily. And from there, he communicates, I always assume, to his supervisors and drivers from there. Actually, sometimes Mike, again, does it himself because of staffing shortage due to
but
vacations
is he
and whatnot.
communicating with you from his supervisor to say to you, we had a problem with this, I'm letting you know. It
Uh,
won't be picked up today. It'll have to wait till tomorrow.
Not always
Because
immediately.
that's the problem.
Sometimes it's after I get the few phone calls, I'll call and say, what is going on? And then I'll find out. So after speaking with him and having a sit-down meeting, and again today, a few resolves will take place. One, the issues with the missing carts is just getting the replacements has been such a problem. People shouldn't be waiting 4 weeks for a trash cart. So I understand sometimes they are not always able to get their trucks out to deliver the cart. So one of the resolves is to actually get me a stash of replacements at my location. And if I need to bring a cart on demand, I'll have it. And then I will report how many I've gone through for MEGA. So I'll have that immediate resolve.
Will that
from it.
include the 65?
The
still?
65, unfortunately, it's the 35s is what the elderly really need, but if we've got 65s, the medium size that we had 250 distributed before we went to the 35 gallon. The other thing was Mike actually recommended a weekly meeting with the supervisor. So he's the operations manager, and I believe it's Victor is the supervisor. So maybe having Vic come in, sit down, and then I can get a weekly report with him back and forth, and maybe that will help some of these consistent repeat problems. Yeah.
Because that too, if there are issues on our end, like, for example,
Road
one was my
construction that
fault.
I'm
I
not
had
aware of.
I had a barrel too
Mm.
close to a vehicle and they couldn't get the arm in. My fault, and I knew that's what it was. I waited till the next week, but that should be from you to Nicole to say, we didn't do this street because of this,
Sure.
just so, and then she can call, or she can make the council aware that they missed these 3 houses in the
Right.
ward because of this, so.
And that's the thing, if I know we're having water main construction and that an entire street's going to be blocked, I will let Mike know, you may either want to try to come as early as you can before construction starts at 7. So reroute to get there at 6 o'clock and do the rest later. Or let me know if that's not feasible. We will announce to those residents, they'll be a day delayed. But then I also expect that same courtesy. If you are having a truck that broke down, that's fine. We get it. Let me know. I have the Facebook pages. I have the red alert system at my disposal. I'm sure 20-something people won't be calling me in as long as they know, oh, that's what happened.
Well, you'll have the answer.
And they'll be there tomorrow. So it's just that communication. My phone's always open all the time. You know that. So I'm hoping a weekly meeting. I'm hoping the extra stash of trash carts and recycling carts from them that I can hold on to and take count for them for that will help a little bit. So we'll see. But I just wanted to let you know that communication that I've had and some what we're trying to work going forward.
How's the yard waste been?
Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead
Oh,
horse.
I have to
No.
Does
say,
anybody have any other questions?
No,
for
I
me?
think-
yard waste has been good so far. I feel like they're doing
Okay,
okay right
so-
now, so far. All right.
Any other questions for Megan? Thank you very much for
Thank you.
attending.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Consideration of memorandum of understanding between the town of West Warwick and the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, Local 312.
Move approval of memorandum of understanding.
Second,
Moving second. I don't know.
Hi, good evening, honorable members of the town council and town manager Mark Knott. In an effort to address the ongoing critical staffing shortages the West Warwick Police Department is facing, I am respectfully requesting the town council to consider approving the memorandum of understanding before you this evening. This MOU is the result of an intensive collaborative effort between the administration of the police department and members of IBPO Local 312. This proposed MOU will allow for some much needed relief for officers who have been subjected to being ordered in on a far too frequent basis for the last year or so. Members of IBPO Local 312 voted to approve this MOU on Thursday, July 7th, 2022, and I am respectfully requesting the town council to consider approving it as well.
Any questions for the Colonel?
We met at length with this, and I know the body brought it back. They agreed to it.
They
So-
did, they did.
And they're working with us and with you, obviously, your department to try to fulfill those shortages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Temporarily.
And again, as a phrase you said earlier, not to beat a dead horse, but, I have to extend my thanks to the members of the IBP Local 312. They understand that this is a critical staffing shortage. And, for once, I can say it's not a financial issue. This is an officer wellness issue. Officers being subjected to work far more than 40 or 50 or even 60 hours a week is just not good for them. We have a high burnout rate. We're losing officers to other police departments, both retirees and new officers. We're having trouble recruiting because it's known that if you come to the West Warwick Police
It's very
Department,
well known.
you're going to work 70 or 80 hours a week for the first year that you're here. We needed to do something, and I thank the members of the police union for coming together and working on a solution that I think is beneficial to both sides. At the very least, until we can get through this, hopefully temporary staffing crisis, and we can move on to a more permanent solution.
It's very well known that here in West Warwick, you're working 12 to 16 hours on most of the days you're scheduled to work, and you're probably going to work 12 to 16 hours on at least one of the days you're supposed to have off.
That's correct.
And it's not healthy for the officers. It's not healthy for their families. Like I said, the word's out there, and a lot of people will not apply here if they want to lateral over, or even as a new officer, because it's not something that anybody desires to do. So I thank them also for their cooperation.
Thank you.
Yes, we definitely appreciate the fact that they're willing to work with us, and I agree with you. It's not necessarily a money issue. It's a mental health, family health issue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
So that will change when the new officers come in, correct? You have 4 new
Well,
officers. Obviously, you'll take up some more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 4 officers that are in the field training program at this time. They're scheduled to be off around August 15th. There's 4 officers. So once they get off of field training, we'll disperse them to where they're needed most, and we'll be able to make some of the changes to the MOU. We'll be able to let some officers that are displaced go back to their rightful spots. But again, I have to stress that I firmly believe that this is going to have to be somewhat of a flexible
Right.
document.
Right.
Things can happen that we may be able to let more people go back to their displaced positions. Unexpected things could happen. We may have to tighten them up a little bit. We've sat with the executive board members of IBPO Local 312, and we feel that this is a good comprehensive MOU that can work for us. We have, an intensive recruiting process going on right now. We're hopeful. We asked for 8 seats in the next police academy. We were given 4. So that doesn't really help us. But we're going to continue, to really strive to recruit the best for our police department, again, to solve our staffing issues on a permanent basis.
And that recruiting process is right now. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. A little bit low on the numbers. I believe we're up to 17 applicants. But again, we're down with the 4 new recruits that are going to come off of the field training program. We're down 9 officers. And again, fingers crossed, that's if nobody else
Everything
leaves
else well,
in the
right.
next,
Don't
year or
jinx it,
so.
chief.
I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. But I believe that we're going to get some good recruits out of that group of 17. And we, hopefully, fingers crossed, we should be able to send 6, 7, or 8 to the next academy.
But you like said, that's a year from, we're talking about a year from now before that happens.
Well, yeah, that academy wouldn't start until January. They wouldn't get out of the academy until late May. They wouldn't get off of field training until sometime around August. So we're looking at another full year to grab a good chunk of officers.
So we seem to be suffering more, but my understanding is other departments are having similar issues.
So the police staffing issue is absolutely a statewide problem
National,
right now.
maybe.
It's not even up for discussion. I would unfortunately, I would say that West Warwick is probably at the top of that.
Okay.
Percentage wise. I mean, we're down 25% of our police department, and that's a big hurdle. It goes to say that when people know that we're in the bottom of the pay scale, and that they're going to be working 70 or 80 hours a week, other departments look much better than we do. I think it's the greatest department in the state, to be honest with you. I've been here 29 years and I love the place, but the fact remains that if somebody's given the choice of coming to West Warwick, working 70 or 80 hours a week for an entire year, or they can go to, I'll just pick Warwick, make $12,000, $15,000 a year more walking through the door and get ordered in about once a month, they're going to pick Warwick all day long. And that's no disrespect to Warwick.
I was making my rounds last night and bumped into another city police officer, and he praised West Warwick Police Department. He says, you have one of the best departments, the greatest people to work with. Your staffing sucks. That's exactly how he put it to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, cities like Warwick and Providence are going to keep taking them from you if you don't solve the problem.
Yeah.
He said, so, and
It's just a vicious cycle. We can't get people because of our staffing issues, which makes our staffing issues worse, which means we really can't get people.
Which goes back to when we do certain things to try to have retention as a council to retain police officers. People should understand how important it is to retain the officers we have so they're not
absolutely.
leaving.
And that's one of our concerns too, both the union concern and certainly my concern is that I don't want to become a training police department where we're going to get police officers through the police academy. They're going to make it through field training. They're going to last one probationary year. And then they're going to jump ship and go anywhere they want. It's a buyer's market. If you're a young police officer right now, you can go anywhere in the state and pretty much name your price. So we need to fix that. We need to fix that quickly. And again, I truly appreciate the collaborative effort with our local IBPO 312 and the town council for your support, because this can't be done without one of those pieces.
So I'm not sure I understand how we get out of it, though, if we're only going to have
it's gonna
one,
be a little while.
only way-
you never catch up.
The only-
Any chance to having an additional, and I've asked you this privately, an additional academy?
So Rhode Island doesn't have a full-time police training academy. It's run by a couple members of the Rhode Island State Police under the Department of Public Safety. And I've asked that question to the executive director of the Rhode Island Municipal Police Training Academy. We can have 15 academies a year. Who's going to staff them? The Rhode Island Municipal Police Training Academy has 2 troopers assigned to it. The rest of the instructors and the cadre at the academy is all made up of police officers from municipal agencies. I can't send any police officers to be trainers there because I don't have police officers to handle a domestic in Phoenix. So it's kind of, it's a catch-22.
No doubt.
So I honestly, the police academy has been fantastic with expanding their class size. I mean, usually it's a 40-person class, then it got moved to 50. This next academy is going to be 65 recruits, but they've had 92 seat requests from municipal agencies. So it's not just West Warwick that's dealing with this. I just think percentage-wise, we're probably at the top of that mountain.
So is it all about retention though? Is retention the biggest part of it?
It's recruiting and retention. So I'll lay all the cards on the table. Of the last 11 recruits that we've sent to the Municipal Police Training Academy, only 6 have graduated. In 3 different academies, 2 recruits have quit the first day. They didn't even make it to lunch on day 1.
So of those 6,
Mhm.
are those 6 here or do
They
those?
are. They are.
Okay.
All 6 of those are here. But not too long ago, maybe a few months ago, we lost an officer with maybe 4 years on the job, right around 4 years on the job. He went to an Aquidneck Island Police Department, younger officer, a fantastic officer by all accounts. He was a Newport guy, born and bred in Newport, and we had an exit interview with him, and he said right out, "I love the West Warwick Police Department. My heart's down there," and the thing that pushed him was the nonstop order-ins. Guy with 4 years on the job doesn't want to work 30 hours extra, not voluntary overtime. So it's a recruiting problem, number one, and then it's a retention issue that we're facing.
And the recruiting problem is not going to get fixed until the media stops with the demonizing of the police. That's the bottom line, because back when we were applying, East Providence, when I applied in 97, there's 1,200 applicants. Now, if they get 100, they're lucky.
Yeah.
It's the demonizing. I talk to people out on the streets. Oh, my son and my daughter wants to be a police officer, but they're scared now. So if this should happen to be, listen to anybody out there, if you want to be a police officer, this is Rhode Island. It's not, you don't have the hatred toward the police here like you see on the news and all these other areas. It's really good profession. Get out there, sign up. We need good people, come to West Warwick first.
Yeah, and I agree with you that 421 people applied when I got hired. Now we're getting 20 or 30, and we only hired 3 off of my list. Now we have, maybe 20 people apply or 30 people apply and only 20 show up and then 5 fail. We have 15 recruits for 9 jobs. I mean, the chances of you getting hired are extremely high. The only good thing that I see is if you want to be a police officer right now, in my opinion, your heart and soul is really into it, because you're not going to take on that national scrutiny. And again, I agree with you, Mr. Bourget. In Rhode Island, we don't see nearly the stuff we see in Philadelphia and Chicago. We, knock on wood, thank God for that. But you really want to be part of the solution. If you want to be a police officer now, you want to be part of the solution. You want to be part of making things better. So that's the only, I think, a glimmer of hope that I see in it, to be honest with you.
I agree.
And what Mark just said, I totally agree, because I have a daughter who's studying criminal justice now, and her goal is to be a police officer. And people ask her that question, why would you want to do that now? And I hate it, because it's something she's been wanting to do since a little kid. And when they chastise her for wanting to be one, she says exactly that. I want to make a change. I want to be the person who's involved with my community. So I totally agree with you, and I agree with you. If they want to be, their hearts will be in it. And, and I will never discourage anybody
Absolutely.
who wants
and
to.
those are the type of people that we need right now more than ever.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Consideration of memorandum of agreement between the town of West Warwick and the Rhode Island Council 94 AFS CME pertaining to the lead operator pay scale.
Move approval of the memorandum of agreement.
Second.
Move second.
I'm going to defer this one to Sherry, since you'll hear from me on the next 10.
Good evening. We had briefed the council on this a couple of meetings ago. We had mentioned that the Rhode Island DEM has been reaching out to different plants and asking them to look into providing some development opportunities. They're seeing a shortage of people who are able to test for the advanced wastewater certificates, the level 3 and level 4 specifically. We've seen some struggles ourselves as in our recruitment for when we're looking for superintendent, assistant superintendent. So we worked in conjunction with Council 94 on some ideas on how we could develop some positions without adding to the employee count. These would be opportunities of repurposing some current positions and creating what we call a lead operator. The terminology that Rhode Island DEM looks for is that someone needs to be in direct responsible charge of other employees or the process in order to sit for those higher level certifications. So the plan would be to designate a couple of lead operators who would be able to be the point person, particularly would put them on like second and third shift, because that's when obviously most of the management isn't around. Train them up a bit more than the regular operators, and with them having that direct responsible charge responsibility in their job description, they then would be able to test for the higher level licenses through DEM. So I believe you have a copy of the memorandum of agreement that we would enter with Council 94, as well as the job description that we worked on with them. I think you'll see the pay scale is nothing out of whack. It's basically right in between the regular operator and our chief operator level of pay. It is budgeted in the wastewater budget for this year that was presented and approved previously.
Any questions for Sherry?
There's one question I have is, should this be under council or should it be under sewer commission?
Usually the union agreements go through council. Wastewater doesn't negotiate their own agreement with Council 94.
Council 94 as well.
I just wanted to clarify just because it has to do it down there.
Good question.
So the job duties for these positions is There's no new job duties. The jobs are getting done now, correct?
The duties are essentially the same, but again, the goal is to empower them with a little bit more knowledge to be able to troubleshoot some more issues on their own. So they won't be necessarily calling the chief operator all the time on off hours. We're going to instill additional knowledge upon them to hopefully handle more problems on their own. But basically because we're not adding more employees, we're not adding to the FTE count, we're basically turning current positions into these as the opportunity arises. So we had a couple of retirements, or a couple of people down there took advantage of the early retirement. So we have open positions. So we have an opportunity now where we could work these in potentially.
Any other questions for
We
Sharon?
should save on overtime then. Once they get
We
up
would
there.
hope. Yeah, that's
That's the
a
ultimate goal.
long-term goal, again, to get the people a bit more trained on the other shifts.
So who gets the calls right now? Like if people have questions, these people would have questions on second shift.
They would call the chief of operations.
Okay,
That's
who's
for
on
job
first shift?
description. Correct.
So who's on second shift training these people? Because obviously they need to be trained.
Yeah, well, so there's some overlap. I mean, the chief operator would be able to give them more training and information. Their schedules overlap at different times, depending on,
Like
some of them
when?
work one day and then nights. I don't know the exact schedule off the top of my head, but there's various schedules.
Okay.
Not everyone's strict second shift. Some people have like one day and then 4 nights, which is one of the schedules that was just vacated.
One other clarification question. Under number 9, it says if any provision of this MOA is deemed invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, said provision shall be severed. The remaining provisions of the MOA shall be given full force and effect. Why is that there? Is there somebody down at the plant that's gonna be given a hard time on this, or is this just?
No, I mean, the union's already approved it. That's just really kind of boilerplate language that we have in most of our MOAs.
Clarify that's what it was and we're not gonna
Yeah,
run into
it's
problems
just,
with.
yeah, no,
somebody
that
down
wasn't
there saying-
specifically added for this MOA. That's
All right, just
usually
making
in
sure.
all of them.
Any other questions or concerns?
I just have a question of if we're gonna give people more money, I'm looking at the whole training piece of this. I understand the hierarchy and maybe I'm misunderstanding. I thought majority of the staff worked on first shift.
Correct.
And then we have a few, like 2 people that worked on second shift
Yep.
and 1 on third shift.
And one of
Am
the,
I correct?
yep, so one of the second shift positions is vacant right now due to the early retirements. So probably what we would do is put that person on first shift to train. Like we usually would never just put someone alone, obviously, right away. So for a time frame, that person probably would train on first shift.
So essentially, we want to get these lead operators additional training in operations management, some supervisory skills to build them up for professional development. So once we have vacancies or there's a drive to better yourself and move up when we have lead operator, lead maintenance, assistant superintendent vacancies, we actually have an internal pool of people that are energized and have striven to do better and learn more. And currently, we're a very stagnant
Right.
plant, as a lot of
I
other
understand
places
that.
are. That's why DEM is really kind of reaching out to all the facilities saying, is there something you can do to help energize and build that pool? We've lived it firsthand, so this is our solution. Other plants are working towards the same thing. So there will be a training component. Obviously, you're going to have people there to train them in some additional operation. And I don't know anything about wastewater management specifics operationally on what they need to learn, but they'll get that additional training so they can have that extra knowledge base, make some more calls and decisions on their own, still have a resource available and a hierarchy to reach out, but also the interpersonal supervisory skills training, which is a key component to it.
I'm just not following like the who is training who piece. If who is training these, you said there's multiple lead operators.
So we've agreed to do up to 3, but again, we're not going to displace anybody or move anybody. It's really going to be an as there's vacancies. So right now there's a vacancy on second shift.
Right.
So what I'm saying is normally any department, not just wastewater, if someone works like second or third shift where there's like a skeleton crew, we wouldn't shove them right on their shift. They normally would train with the first shift where there's more people and they can actually learn the process before we put them alone or just with one other person. So that would be the plan for this. That would be the first one we would likely roll out. That new hire potentially on second shift would train on first shift with the people there.
Okay, and who is training this person? That's my question.
The other operators and the lead, the chief operations.
Okay,
And
so-
as DEM offers training,
Okay,
as they
so the
develop this
chief
plan,
the chief operator is going to be the trainer for our plant. That's what you said.
Most likely, he's the chief. So yeah, he has the most knowledge. But not to say the person wouldn't work alongside other operators. Different people have different strengths on different, equipment or what have you. So I'm sure
So I'm
they'll
ju- I'm
train with
just-
multiple people.
I'm just trying to make sense of this all. So there's a position open.
Correct.
The lead operator is going to be trained on first shift by the chief operator.
And
Right.
others. I don't want to say solely. Again, different people I think are good at different pieces of
they'll be
equipment.
the point person. for
They'll
this
be the point
initial-
person,
for this
yeah.
initial project.
So-
DEM will be developing additional training opportunities that we'll be able to send people to, I think they call them boot camps at various levels. So as they step up this process, I'm sure they're going to offer some more trainings that we'll be able to send people to. And then there are various organizations that we can engage just for general supervisory training skills.
Okay. So the lead operator is being trained by the chief of operations on first shift. We still have a second shift vacancy. Correct?
I don't know. We're going to fill a
Is the
lead operator
is
spot.
Jeff here?
No, the lead operator will be taught by the chief of operations,
Yeah.
extra skills and duties and knowledge. And then eventually they will go off to their assignment on second shift.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Maybe it's me. I'm still not following this. We have an opening on second shift. There's 2 people there. So we have 1 person working there now. Right?
Well,
Somebody's
assigned, somebody's working it. They're-
officially bid in the
right.
position, but we're covering it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this lead operator is again getting trained by the chief of operations on first shift. Is this for like a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year?
I wouldn't envision it being very long. Again, it would depend on the person. If it's an internal bid of someone who already has some experience, I would assume it'd be a lot quicker training. If it's from the outside, then it could be a bit more extensive. Without knowing the background of the person who is going to fulfill the position, I can't really commit to what the time frame for the training would be.
Is it true, forget about what we're calling this person, that's how that would work anyway? That second shift person wouldn't just be thrown in right away?
Correct. Anywhere. We
Correct.
would never put
So
somebody
the fact that
new
So
by
ultimately,
themselves.
let me just
Yeah.
dumb
we've
this
done
down,
that.
please, because
Yeah.
I feel like
Right.
who's on first, who's on
Right.
second, you are and you are, it's just not. Jay, ultimately, they're gonna train somebody, but also give them supervisory abilities
top of
to
that.
not have to call the chief operator on off duties and make those decisions on their own. They're gonna have to do it on first shift, maybe 1 day, 2 days, whatever it may be, but ultimately, they'll be trained to go into that role, and that's what this pay scale is for.
Okay,
That's
all right,
that's basically what it is,
all
in a
right.
nutshell.
And again, DEM is the one driving this and asking us to participate in it.
And I did confirm that you can sit for the tests and then get the years of experience that you need. Remember you had asked
Yes,
that
we had
question.
that question.
Yeah, so you can sit for the test and then put your time in, so to say, in order to officially get it.
Any other questions for Sherry?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the memorandum.
I think we already had that,
Did
so I'm
that.
gonna
Oh,
do
we-
all in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
aye. Oh.
Opposed?
It
Ayes
was a
have it.
while ago, I forgot.
It's been a long time.
No.
Consideration of awarding town hall carpet replacement bid.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mark?
So again, like I mentioned, the next 10 are mine. If you don't mind, I know I sent a memo with some general supporting information, but just for the public awareness, I've included descriptions and supporting information for the 10 expenditure proposals listed under new business. The first 3 items are general fund items, and the remaining 7 include American Rescue Plan funds. Just as an update, we have been in possession of and working off of the first tranche of American Rescue Plan funds, which amounted to just over $4.3 million. To date, we've encumbered 2.6 million of those dollars, which leaves us just under 1.8 from tranche number 1. We expect tranche 2, an additional $4.3 million, to be deposited in our account within the first 2 quarters of this year. Part of that should be in our account probably by the end of this month, and the county funds, they're saying probably September, early October. So the opera proposals that I had before you amount to approximately $724,000 on the conservative side, which I'll explain one by one. As I mentioned before, I've taken an intentional pause with opera fund proposals while we work through our municipal budget preparation and the approval process. And now I'd like to return to addressing the many priorities that we have discussed in the past and tentatively agreed upon. So the first one, again, is a general fund proposal, is replacement of a significant portion of the carpet in this building. We put it out to RFP in December of last year. We did not receive any credible bids. Our building official did some additional research and was able to make contact with a company on the Connecticut's master pricing agreement who submitted a proposal. We were supposed to meet last Friday to fine tune that, but we're going to meet this coming Friday. So their original bid was for $18,311.40. I'm asking your approval to encumber $25,000, and that money would be designated from our residual town hall improvements, our FY22 capital improvement fund, and the remaining funds out of this year's fiscal 23 capital fund that was approved. And we're looking to do this work starting by the end of the summer.
Any questions for Mark on that?
Definitely need to.
And that's the entire building?
It's not the entire building. It's primarily the main hallways that are very deficient, and then 3 or 4 offices that need help. There are some that were replaced on a more reasonable timetable, including the upstairs suite, but there's something on each floor that needs to be addressed in addition to the main halls and the carpets. And I'll probably be looking again, we'll probably go forward with the carpet, but I'm interested in putting the epoxy type floor in our 2 entrances just for better cleaning and less salt damage and wear and tear.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of renewal of IT services agreement with RCC for 1 year.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move seconded, Mark.
Again, simply RCC has been providing IT and cybersecurity services for the last 3 years. Their contract has expired and the current contract allows for 1-year renewals. I believe 2 of them. We have several very important cybersecurity and system enhancement projects in the works, and I'm requesting that we renew that agreement for the additional year of fiscal 23. The anticipated cost is just under $173,000, which has been budgeted for in our general budget computer services, as well as some individual department line items based on the various inventories that they each hold.
With that being said, what is the plan going forward after that? Because I know we've talked about IT, we've talked about different things to reduce this cost. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan, especially of the costs that we've incurred through them and the amount of time it takes them to fix certain things. Still not a fan?
We've had some growing pains, if you will. We've met more frequently, and I think we've come to a better service understanding. They have some designated people that are assigned more consistently with us. And like every other agencies, especially ones we talked to tonight with turnover, there's been some issues. But like I said, the priority here is that we've mapped out some internet infrastructure and cybersecurity projects to lock us down. And I'm not a proponent of interrupting those. So I think we can continue to assess on what our needs are, our satisfaction with the performance, and is there a better option moving forward. But I think for this coming year, I think it's important to maintain the consistency and keep working towards what we have and continue to assess what we have. If we wanted to do a different plan in the future, give us time to work towards that.
Yeah, I understand.
struggle
That's
with
why I'm
having
asking-
a one-person show.
Well, that's why I'm asking, what's the plan? Because on the 11th month, I hate to see that somebody else is sitting up here and it says, we're going to renew the contract for 3 years and them not knowing what's going on or what has gone on or whatever it may be. And, you know, sometimes the little fixes seem to take forever. And, you know, and I get the complaints from employees. It's just, you know, they're waiting 2-3 weeks for a resolve or whatever it may be. And I'm hoping they're not charging us for that 2-3 weeks, but it's just, you know, it's just, you know, I think it's gone a little better, but not as good as we
There are
want.
some, obviously some operational stuff that, you know, I don't want to trouble you folks with that we handle on a daily basis and meet and work those kinks out.
And that's why I'm just asking if there's a plan, because we're gonna up this for another year. That's fine. I understand there's major stuff that needs to be done, but the minor stuff and, you know, I just hope we can resolve it ourselves and save some money also.
Right. It's a vital, our IT infrastructure is vital. I mean, that's the kind of the meat and potatoes of running the operations here. We rely on numerous pieces of hardware, software, cloud-based systems. We really can't function without it. So I understand its importance. It obviously costs a significant amount of money. It's an investment on our part to protect our data and to be able to provide the services that we do.
I understand the continuity of it. I'm along with the lines of Dave as far as, you know, what's the plan? Because you said there's another 1-year extension that can come after this or under their current contract.
Right.
After this one, you know, so, but we're getting this now and this is starting back on July 1st. Today's July 12th, so we're already 11 days into the new contract. To me, I mean, if we're not overly satisfied, I mean, cybersecurity, there could be a company out there that's got a better plan. There's definitely a company out there that can pick up the plan and move forward from what we've already paid for. $173,000 is a lot of money, you know? I just think it maybe should go out to bid, especially before we pop in next year. I think it's too late now on this one because we're already 11 days in.
Yeah,
put it out
that's definitely an option. And to be honest with you, I was not interested in taking that on right now based on what we have going. Whether it's a whole new company, whether it's trying to hire an IT director and doing so, I mean, I don't think that is promising. So I think this is our best course of action.
Well, I guess my ultimate point is we're 11 days into the new contract and we're just getting this now. I think this should have been done the last meeting or the meeting before. So a discussion like that could have happened to possibly put it out for a bid instead of getting it too late now type of a thing. So
I understand.
Trying to get it done earlier in the future.
Any other questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of donation to the West Warwick Assistance Agency.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Mark, just want to.
Again, the last item on our general fund, the West Warwick Assistance Agency provides valuable services to our residents in need and continues to be worthy of municipal support for the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding River Point caboose painting bid, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving seconded. Mark, I know I'll let you go ahead and I got to speak on this.
Certainly. So everyone's aware that we have a historic caboose. That's the welcome wagon at the entrance of the River Point complex. It's in need of some rehabilitation and some paintings. Our DPW directors solicited bids and recommend awarding the bid to Lopco Contracting out of Johnston in the amount of $4,892.
And I just want to point out, David Perry, who actually helped bring that caboose here to town. Lopco was the first company that painted this, and he worked getting this bid in working with Lopco and asking them to submit a bid to us and working with them closely. And he's got this under $5,000. The next nearest bid is $30,000 to paint the caboose. And Lopco has assured us that they're going to bring this back to where it was day one when they painted it. So I want to publicly thank Dave for working on his own time, working with the company, telling them, bringing them down, showing them what needed to be done, and definitely helping with the caboose, even though he's semi-retired from the Greenway Group, but he's definitely still involved. But, and if he's listening, thank you, Dave. Any questions on that?
No, definitely needs it, and I definitely still see people getting their pictures taken in front of it, so even with the
Absolutely.
condition it's in, so.
And it's been spruced up all around it last year and the year before, so it's definitely an eye for the town, so. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding River Point LED lighting project, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, Mark.
So we're continuing to enhance the safety and efficiency of the lighting at our sports and recreation complex. This proposed project would be handled by Prism, our street light vendor, and it includes replacing the lighting at our basketball courts, tennis courts, skate park, and also illuminating the school bus depot for security purposes. The cost for this that I'm asking to be encumbered into American Rescue Plan's funds is $79,235.92.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding of a recreational irrigation project for Natick Field, junior and senior softball fields and Raina Field, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, Mark.
So the wares was just laid out. Obviously, we're still looking to enhance our recreation facilities around town. We just completed the work at McCarthy Field, which looks absolutely phenomenal. Somebody stopped today and pointed out how impressed they are. They said it hadn't looked this good since we first opened it in the mid-'80s, I think he said. This particular project for irrigation, again, is for the two Natick fields, the junior and senior softball fields, and the Rainer Field at River Point. We're suggesting we encumber American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $143,629.
Any questions for Mark?
No, the only question and maybe Jeff or Freddie can answer it. The intent is to have these controlled via your phone remotely. Is the cost of that included in here? Do we need hotspots? Do we need?
So hotspots is not included in the bid. We would handle that our own, just like we did with the ones down at McCarthy.
Okay.
And we can decide if we're including that in an operational general fund account.
Okay.
To me, that's something that would cause a structural deficit because it would be a repeat thing. So I'd rather handle that in our general budget as opposed to rescue plan funds.
But we certainly want to make sure we do that because spending this money makes no sense if we don't do that.
Right.
So, okay. Thank you.
You still need Jeff? He started walking up.
Oh, all right.
Any other questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding a field rehabilitation project for Natick Field Junior and Senior Softball, Ray Silva and Amby Smith, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, Mark?
Again, as we work to enhance the safety, efficiency, and aesthetics of our recreation fields around town, we just mentioned the nice work that was done at McCarthy. This proposal would award that work to the same company that did that. They essentially gave us quotes of approximately $73,000 per identified field. I had mentioned the conservativeness. There's a couple of fields that one may be in better condition, so we may be able to scale back the work on that one particular field.
That's
And
Ray Silva, correct?
on Silva, and also as we continue to look at Amby Smith, irrigation there would be an issue. So if, depending on what we decide to do, if irrigation is going to be an issue, then we'd probably just focus on laser leveling and fixing up the infield as opposed to the outfield at this time until we can get a better handle on the future of that facility. So I'm asking the council to encumber ARPA funds in the amount of $438,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is very exciting. You may recall we had members of the public come and speak at our last meeting. Jeff was on hand then to tell us that, yes, these had already gone out to bid. I'm happy that the same company that took care of McCarthy is doing it. I think they've done a fantastic job. We are hopefully approving this tonight. That doesn't mean that it's all going to get done in 6 weeks' time. So we have to
Exactly.
set some expectations for people as to when that timing might be. But I do know that Mr. Caldwell will focus.
He can elaborate on.
We'll focus on the girls' fields,
Yeah.
right?
Jeff can elaborate
There
on
you
the
go.
timing, but what I thought was important to get this done in one
Absolutely.
shot is so we can have them
Absolutely.
time it appropriately for the various league schedules and also the weather timing to get everything done right with the least amount of disruption between perhaps this fall and the spring.
I absolutely support this approach. I think it's the right thing. Take care of it, get the funding secured. We're good and knock them off as we can. But we do have to be realistic that it's not going to be all done at once and it's not going to be done overnight.
No, our goal is to hopefully get all of River Point done this fall. That means laser leveling and bringing in materials to Ray Silva and getting that taken care of, redoing the junior field and the senior girls softball. And that includes fixing the left field fence, bringing it back so we can actually play high school softball there. All these fields also, just so you guys know, are going to be made into 50-70 fields. So they're multi-use fields, so they could be played softball on and baseball. Now, the girls softball fields will not have mounds on them. They'll put drop mounds out there. There'll be flat surfaces where they can put drop mounds out there to play ball. So we can use them for when the girls aren't using them, we can do other things on them. But as you saw McCarthy looks wonderful. They did a fantastic job on McCarthy. So you're going to be looking at the same quality with the work. They're great to work with. They're very easy to work with. The guys for STS, they're wonderful. So we're hoping to do 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. Now, with the scheduling, depending on what winter does, how everything does, obviously we have to have some leeway on that because we can't predict Mother Nature. But if it gets approved, they will be done within the next year. So.
Any questions for Jeff or Mark?
Sounds a good plan.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding pavement management study program bid, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mark?
So the town made a significant investment starting last year with the $7 million road bond. And I believe we want to continue to make that commitment towards keeping up on our roadways better than we have in the past, whether it's through bonds in the future or annual investments through our general fund. In order to do that, I believe we need to have an organized and transparent approach and have a professional road study done. Again, the one we currently have, I believe, was in the mid 2000s when it was last done, to have the pavement management program with a comprehensive evaluation of our roadways as we finish this current bond work. They would be Beta of Lincoln, Rhode Island is on the master pricing agreement. They would create a baseline roadway condition, suggest appropriate maintenance and rehabilitation methods, show projected costs, and assist in determining the appropriate timelines. I believe this type of strategic planning will allow for more efficient annual budgeting and more focused bond requests for long-term goals. This would be a two-phase study, which would be done over the next year in the amount of $40,000. And I suggest we encumber American Rescue Plan funds to do it.
Any questions for Mark?
So what you're saying with this, I'm not concerned about the money with this, but we currently have our roads being done. What is the timeline for these roads to be finished?
So they would do a comprehensive study of all of our roads. So we'd have a database that you could log into, as well as a printed version to look at a professional assessment on the condition of the road and their suggestion on what type of either preventative maintenance or more thorough rehabilitation, what that each road needs, what the projected cost is, and their suggested timeline on when to do it. So they could, give you could break it down saying, here's the 20 roads that we think are worthy of crack sealing or cape sealing or whatever different, and you could budget accordingly or try to factor that in on how much you wanted to do, what makes sense economically and timeline wise to get the best bang for your buck, and have a more or less an independent assessment on where your worst roads are so we can focus on those.
And that's the word I like right there, is the independent assessment, because we just had the $7 million road bond. I had to argue to get certain roads done in Ward 5 that were far worse than some of the roads that they were planning to do. And I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate as to why. But now we're going to be ripping up a road that was basically crack sealed from curb to curb. And now it's going to get ripped up and be redone. So that was just a big waste of money crack sealing it, because it wasn't a professional company that came in and going to do what this is. So I fully support this.
Yeah, they did the last one, but like I said, it's outdated.
ago.
And
Do we have a copy of the old
$7
one?
million?
we do, I've seen it within the last week.
Yeah, it should have been done before we did the $7 million bond, because I was told there's just a couple of people driving around saying this one looks pretty bad.
Believe it or not, one of the last study that happened was when the first road bond happened. Bridge Street was like #1 to be paved. Well, that's been crack sealed corner to corner, edge to edge,
Yeah,
top to bottom, and it still hasn't been paved. So,
That's why I think from even after this is done, if we do another bond or whatever it is in the future, it really should stay out of our hand which streets get done, or whoever's sitting up here. Just go right down to DPW, follow this list, barring any kind of an emergency that's out there. That's my opinion.
And it's supposed to be very, like I said, comprehensive, very user-friendly, easily updated as, like we said, as the water authority or the gas company does a road, it can be easily reassessed quickly, put into their program. So it's up to date.
Oh, that's good.
What's your time frame with this? If this is awarded
Right,
right
so
now?
essentially within the next month, they would start phase 1, which is setting up our programming and getting all our roads put in the GPS or GIS sites and get it created and start the assessment. Obviously, I don't want them to assess on a road that we're going to pave at the end of the year. So they'll save the ones that we're projecting to work, and perform the assessment on those as soon as they're done.
Could that be intertwined? Because if they give it a different opinion of a road or several roads that say this should be done right now, and that's really not on our list, is this something that, would it be better to work with
we could
them
ask
now?
them to expedite a few that we may have questions on.
Yeah.
But to me, the $7 million road bond isn't going to be the end all be all. I mean, that was a great boost to something that was overdue and very needed, I'm committed to trying to designate some annual funding so we can kind of keep chipping away at it. And
Okay.
obviously, it would take forever to catch up, but then at the appropriate time, based on the economy and available funds, make some decisions, what, if we can get out of the infrastructure funding that's been touted, if we can identify some of those and use that pool of money appropriately, we'll be looking at that too.
And right now, we've been lucky because some of our roads are at their end of life, but so are the services that are below them. So these other companies are going to be repaving them.
What you're hoping for.
Huh?
It's what we're hoping for.
Oh,
Any other
that's what's gonna happen.
Any other questions for Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There was a
Ayes have
gentleman
it.
in the office, in the audience.
I just wanted to know if that program was the government program favor or the HD program or some other program.
Russ, save it for public comment. We'll give you an opportunity. Thank you.
Consideration of funding source for the town IT cybersecurity assessments and training projects.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move a second. Mark?
So this one's a relatively small one. We participated in a IT cybersecurity infrastructure assessment with a representative from the Department of Homeland Security, who's been tasked with assisting municipalities harden their footprint, I guess. So we have several projects that we want to do to assess and come up with strategic plans on a few different our systems, our Wi-Fi vulnerability, upgrading our switches, switching to multi-factor authentication for at least our key people that work within Office 365, the security of our outpost locations like the youth center and DPW and wastewater, and then initiate some breach security training for our employees. So I'm requesting that we encumber $8,000 of American Rescue Plan money to move towards those.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of awarding recreation bleacher bid, ARPA funded.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move a second.
So my last one, the trust had sent out a notice in late 2021 after another municipality had issues and a failure of their bleachers. So it caused kind of a statewide assessment of bleacher systems. We assessed ours and they were a significant number that were out of code. I don't want to say it's not a big issue, but they were purchased and deployed prior to the code update. So I guess some people would have considered them grandfathered, but based on the deficiencies, we had taken those out of service. So this is a proposal to replace those 5 portable aluminum bleacher systems from O'Brien and Sons, who's on the MPA in the amount of $10,245. I originally wanted to combine this with the bleacher proposal from the Civic Center and do it at the same time, but we have trouble communicating and making sure that bid is still good. So I'll probably handle that one at the next meeting. So this one is just for the 5 portable bleacher systems for Parks and Rec to deploy at our various fields.
Any questions for Mark on the bleachers? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
What was that amount, Mark? Sorry.
$10,245.
Okay. All right, new business item 13 was previously considered. Consideration of request from the West Warwick Steelers Youth Football and Cheer for sponsorship as requested by Councilwoman Williamson.
I received this request back at the end of June, and excuse me, I told them that we would put it on the agenda. And that's what is here before you.
I'm gonna move the consideration.
Sorry. Second.
Moving second. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Referring to the amount in your motion,
I'm sorry.
just because, just for the record.
Actually, it is for, they're hosting a golf tournament. It doesn't actually give us the amount. I can go back to Amy and ask her.
It's usually.
It's usually in the
about
150.
Can we approve up to a certain amount in that way, in that case? So move the amount up.
You know
to
what? Hold on. I might be able to. Hold on 1 minute. Can we come back? Go ahead and I will,
I don't mind if we just put up an amount.
You want to say up to 200, that way it covers if it goes up to 150. I know it's not usually that much, but that way we're covered.
I think what this does actually, it gives advertising also throughout the course of the Steelers season. So I don't know if it would.
Prior to the golf tournament, we would have a tee sign.
It's usually about a buck or
Sponsored by
about
the town
50, I
council
think.
for,
But
Yeah, they're also looking to give us a sign during the whole football season too.
So there are different levels. There's 100, which is the bronze, includes company name, logo, tournament shirt, T sign displayed at all home games. There's a $200 silver, same as includes all bronze, plus mention on our social media, logo carried over to the next tournament. 250 is all bronze and silver, plus company logo on the website for the season, logo carried over to the next tournament. And then there's a $300 platinum, which includes all the above and 2 free shirts. So we could fight over those, right? End of the year plaque, logo carried over. So I'm not sure that we
Gotta
need to
claim them
go
if
to
you
that.
get shirts.
which one?
I mean,
200.
200 would be
Okay.
fine with me, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
We have to,
No, I mean, 200 for the record.
Thank you. All right, discussion of Green Bush School parking traffic issue is requested by Councilman Bourget.
So I brought this up in the past. I know Mr. Townsend has gone over there and looked at it. This has been an issue for at least 15 years. The issue is not getting any better. Over this past school year, I personally witnessed numerous vehicles going over the double yellow, passing all the cars waiting to turn into the school, almost getting into head-on collisions with somebody else who also came over to double yellow, almost colliding. And something needs to be done there. Somebody's going to get hurt. It's probably going to be a student. We are adding more homes to Ward 4 and Ward 5, which that's where the children come from that go to Greenbush. So we're going to add more students and we're going to add more cars to the area. We're going to add more buses to the area. The parking lot itself is a decent sized parking lot, but it's full of little islands and trees and, you know, a bunch of wasted space. So I've been contacted by residents. It's probably my second biggest complaint out in Ward 5 is the traffic over there in the morning where everybody's sitting, waiting to get to work. The impatience of people and it's going to be an accident. I've also received emails and phone calls from current and former teachers. Everybody recognizes this as an issue. The police department, I'm sure, gets phone calls on a regular basis about it as well. They're understaffed. They can't put somebody there at the beginning of the school day every day and the end of the school day every day when all these situations happen. So I'm put it on here just to put it out there once again. I'd like to see if we can possibly use some of the APRA money. School can use some of their APRA money. Have somebody come in, professionally look at the parking lot, see how it could be redesigned, you know, ripped out. Right now is the time it should be getting done because school's out. And I've brought this up in the past, trying to get something going. So I'm bringing it up again. I'm probably going to put it on every agenda until something is done because it's a public safety issue and we just can't keep leaving it as is when it's been like this and it's been a complaint for at least 15 years. So that's my comment on it. I'm hoping that something can move forward and we can make a change.
Can we check into? I know I've been in the Green Bush traffic and it's
So.
At the tail end of the Greenbush traffic, and you're in there a while.
So I invited Karen and Ken to come tonight, but they both had prior commitments. But Ken did send an email today just with some bullet points that I can share. It's obviously not going to solve the problem, but he indicated that the traffic flow problem at Greenbush started with the closing of Maisie Quinn, which increased the number of students and staff at Greenbush. There's a handful of things the school department has done to help improve the flow of traffic on Greenbush. They made the entrance and exit a one-way traffic pattern for the safety of students and staff. They divided the main driveway into a bus lane and a drop-off lane. And I think it's very clear, in the last 2 years, COVID has increased the student drop-off at the expense of bus transportation. And in an effort to relieve the traffic in regards to the student loop, they have their staff coming in 15, or a handful of staff coming in 15 minutes earlier than normal arrival time to spread out that drop-off time, the extra 15 minutes. He reports that they have approximately 160 cars, 9 buses, and 4 minibuses that drop off every morning, in addition to approximately 60 staff members arriving at the same time each morning, all occurring between 8:15 and 8:55 in the morning. I know they've done some studies, and I think right after the last time you had mentioned it, I had met Ken out there and we walked around again. Obviously that area is extremely limited by residents on the west side, wetlands on the east side, a narrow country road of Greenbush in the front. And, the only suggestion that they had was that you could widen Greenbush in front of the school by taking away the large island and the sidewalk and pushing it back in a little bit. However, that's only going to add a depth of 2 cars in a turn lane, which isn't going to solve any of the issues other than 2 cars. But you're right on the fact of, the parking lot, it is a significant amount of islands. But
There's 3 islands on each side with trees. Then you have the big island out in front with the big bushes, and you've got the island up toward the school with the flagpole and a whole bunch of other bushes. I mean, you could easily add, I would say, at least 20 more parking areas in there and design a better traffic flow if you get somebody in there who designs parking lots. There are people out there who do that. That's what they do for a living. I know there's an expense to it. I know they've made these changes, but this has been an issue even before Maisie Quinn. Because like I said, it's been at least 15 years. I remember Peter Kelsey, when he was sitting up here, he would complain about it. And that was 2008, so it's been an issue for a long time. I think it needs to be addressed. And again, I'm going to be the thorn in the side on something like this and just keep pushing it until something is accomplished, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. And the more we can push it, the better. I think it is for everybody. And widening Greenbush is not going to solve the problem.
Right. And again, like I told Ken and the superintendent, I'm more than happy to work with them to kind of find solutions. But to me, that I'd be a backseat driver in helping, figuring out how to.
This is something the town and the school has to work on together. Right. I completely agree on that. I'm not pointing the fingers at them. I know they've made a lot of changes. I know they're trying to make the improvements. And I know money is the biggest issue, but we keep adding houses. We just put the ones on East Greenwich Avenue that are up for sale right now. That could potentially be more children because they're, 3-bedroom houses. We got other developments that are going. The one on Narragansett Avenue, it's going to put in how many houses? 10 houses over there. Again, bringing in more school-age children. We're going to keep adding children to the school. People are not going to be less concerned about COVID anytime soon. So we're going to add more cars, and it's just going to keep exasperating the situation until we have a bad accident. Because like I said, I literally watched almost a head-on collision as eastbound person went first and westbound person came over and they almost collided head-on right in front of the school, because they're not dropping off. They're just trying to get to work.
So I will reinforce that in my next communication with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration of resolution authorizing the release of confidential documents in regards to Reed's Landscaping versus the Town of West Warwick, 4N Properties LLC, Superior Court Case KC 2017-1008.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
So I put this on here. Anybody who's paid attention to any council meeting over the last 5 years knows that this has been brought up at just about every council meeting for the last 5 years. I've been on for the last year. It's been brought up at just about every meeting. In September, I was able to get, I would say, most of the documents. I don't believe I got all the documents pertaining to this case, and a lot of them are stamped confidential. My intent at the time was to read through those 2 giant binders and put together a report to try and just finally put this thing to bed and hopefully get it off the table. And if the town screwed up someplace, then the town screwed up someplace. If we didn't, then we didn't. And just so we have all the facts out there. So it's taken me a long time to go through those, mostly because a lot of it is all new to me. I'm not a land developer. I'm not an appraiser. I'm not anything to do with this. So I had to educate myself on a lot of different things in there. That's part of it. Another part of it is the frustration of some of the stuff that's within these documents. And then, of course, putting it all together in something that I think is understandable for the council. But the dilemma I've been in for the last 4, 6, 8 weeks anyway is how do I present it to the council? We've tried to go into the executive session at one point, but there are people whose names are in these documents. So if we go into executive session, they want to be there. And do we really have a reason to go into executive session? Because this is a case that's adjudicated. We were dismissed with prejudice, and with prejudice means that we can't be sued again on it. So it's really like takes away from our executive session aspect of the whole thing. But there's a lot of documents that are stamped confidential, so I can't just give them to in an open session because then they're public documents. And so to me, the easiest way to try and get this resolved is to declassify, for lack of a better word, or remove the confidentiality of all the documents within. So we can have an open government and put this out there for discussion and hopefully put it to bed, get it off the radar, and answer some of the accusations that have been put out there against the town and or some of our employees.
So I would like nothing more than to put it to bed. That would be, that is the ultimate goal. My concern, and I asked the town manager actually to reach out to the trust. If these are, you talk about classified, and we haven't had a conversation, so yeah. Attorney-client privilege is an issue. I'm not an attorney, don't pretend to be, don't want to be one, to be honest with you. So what I don't want to do is expose the town to more litigation, which is what got us here in the first place. So I did ask the town manager to reach out to the trust. And as much as this isn't a question I think we should be asking either of our solicitors, they're much too close to the case. So if indeed there was an issue in releasing these, the legalities of it, I assume if someone participated under the assumption that there was protection of attorney-client privilege and then we were to break that, we may, and I don't know, be subjecting ourselves and opening ourselves up to liability. Last thing we need is more lawsuits. That's not my goal in any way, shape, or form. So I did ask Mark to reach out to the trust, as they would probably be the people that would have to either defend us or provide coverage for us if this were to happen. And I have not, I'm not sure. I just did that yesterday. So
that is in fact true. I did reach out to the trust, our legal counsel, and after a short education on attorney-client privilege definition and how it works. Obviously, attorney-client privilege is there to protect the client. The client is the one that can make the ultimate decision. It doesn't protect the attorney, it protects the client. It was explained to me, and this was a generic conversation, not specific, to the case that you're referencing was that in his opinion, it's relatively unheard of for attorney-client privilege to be waived, especially in matters that involve others or are still open cases. As you had mentioned, you release something that has other information, people, proposals, the way things were done, you could potentially open yourself up to liability. And from our insurance perspective, if we do something by our own action that exposes us to additional liability, it could cause questions or issues with our coverage in order for them to defend us. So that's kind of a generic answer. Again, wasn't specific to this particular case, but he just recommended caution and not subjecting yourself.
I will say, like I said, I've struggled with this for a number of weeks now. And I reached out to the Attorney General's office on something that's wasn't even this or something else. And they are very unhelpful because I was just told, unless Mr. Williamson's on the phone, that they can't talk to me. And this is regards to Mr. Williamson, so I don't understand why I'd want him on the phone at the same time. So I couldn't go that route because the Attorney General's office can't help me. So I reached out to a different attorney. And this attorney is the one who recommended this route. And again, we're dismissed with prejudice. And there's not much, and that's why I put in there, it was also suggested to me by this attorney to put in there that little, I'm gonna read the resolution out just so people have a full understanding, because I don't know if it was put on the table out there. Resolution authorizing the release of confidential documents in regards to the Reed's Landscaping versus the Town of West Warwick Foreign Properties LLC Superior Court case, KC 2017-1008. Whereas the Town of West Warwick, along with Foreign Properties LLC, was sued by Reed's Landscaping in September of 2017. And whereas the town was dismissed from the case with prejudice in January of 2019. And whereas there have been ongoing accusations against the town and the solicitor during the court proceedings and since the town has been dismissed from the case. And whereas the town has been dismissed from the lawsuit for 2.5 years and yet still is incurring costs to the taxpayers. And whereas the most appropriate way to answer the questions being asked is for a full transparency and open government to the people we serve. And now therefore, let it be resolved that the town council recognizes the citizens of the town expect their government to serve them openly and with full transparency and agrees to declassify all documents marked confidential associated with this case. If there are any documents the solicitor believes should not be released, he shall have 10 days to submit a list of said documents with a written reason for each one as to why they should not be released. And the council will then examine each of those documents and determine whether or not they shall be released. So that last clause in there, I think, covers what the trust is afraid of, because Mr. Williamson will have an opportunity to go through and say, if we do this, it's going to affect that, and that can sue us. But majority of these confidential documents are between Mr. Williamson and the client, the council. That's what majority of them are. So I don't see how any of them, if we're agreeing to lift that confidentiality out, hurts anybody, because it's the client giving up.
Is that what they are? Again, not
Yeah.
knowing what I mean,
Majority of them.
because
are
if
that.
Joe Smith is on these and is assuming,
And that's exactly what the attorney said
I have a
that I talked
problem.
to, said that that's what you need to be worried
Right.
about. So put that in there. So Mr. Williamson, who's already familiar with the entire case, can look through and say, this confidential one should not be released, and here's the reason why. So let's say, Joe Smith is mentioned in this one, and it's a negative thing, Joe Smith is ugly, we gotta leave that out, because if we release that, Councilman Bourget said Joe Smith is ugly. So, and now he can sue me for something,
So
because everybody can sue everybody.
as I've said this before, stated it numerous times, the town was dismissed. And as your second whereas sells it all to me. So the town was dismissed from the case with prejudice on January of 2019. In my opinion, and just mine, that the town is dismissed from this. Why are we continuing doing this week after week after week? It's the same thing for the last 5 or 6 years. the town was dismissed in 2019. If this was still pending on the town of West Warwick, I would love to have 100 discussions with you on it. But 2019, we didn't, one of the parties here came to the town council, and not this entire town council. Councilman Licciardi was here, Councilman Messier was here, I was here, Councilman D'Amico, Councilman Padula. There was a settlement on the table, the town declined it. And on this date, January of 2019, a few weeks later, we were dismissed from the case with no extra cost.
And that
So
would-
at that point, the town was out of it. And that's why I feel we're out of it.
And that would be great if that was, that little synopsis was the whole truth, but that's not the whole truth. And I can't get into the whole truth because everything's stamped confidential. That's the issue. That's why Mr. Reed has been up here pounding the hammer on this over and over again, because he knows that's not the whole truth. There's a lot more to this than what's out there, and that's what needs to be put out. So we have that full transparency and open government that we claim that we always are to our citizens of this town. We're still incurring costs. We're up to $36,000. We're actually over that at this point, because I got all the billings. I had to fight for that as well, which is a whole nother story. Yes, as a councilman, I had to fight to get billings. And I only have up until January of this year, okay? I haven't got February, March, April, and May in June of this year. And I only have to January because of the way the billing is done. When I requested in June, that was all that was submitted, was only up to January. So there's a lot of issues that go on with this. And I frankly am tired of always looking like the bad guy, not me personally, but all of us, as backroom deals go on when we try and shed light on things and we just hit legal roadblock after legal roadblock after legal roadblock. This is an opportunity for us to show, no, we are full and transparent. We do want to shed light on stuff and we need to expose stuff. If we're screwing up, we need to have it out there so we don't keep screwing up. Because all screwing up does is gets us back in court again, gets us another 36,000 plus in legal fees. It hurts us as a tax base. Who here has their street that needs to be done? Yeah, me too. I'd like to have mine redone, but that's $36,000 from this one case that could go towards something like capital improvement. And until we start having a light shed on stuff, we're gonna keep just paying tons of legal bills and never know why we're paying them. And I'm personally tired of it. So I think it should be opened up. I think we should all be voting yes on this to show our constituents that we truly do care about open government.
Just to clarify, so what you're saying, so, all right, so what you're saying in this resolution is that there are, I don't know, letters, emails, correspondence that are marked confidential, which I'm aware of, and if, I don't even, again, I don't want to say a number, I don't know, 200, whatever they are, those will go before who to see if they're allowed. That'll go through
Mr.
Tim?
Williamson will have to, we'll look at them, and anyone that he determines should not be released, he'll put a reason, a written reason as to why that each particular one he doesn't agree with, present it to the council, and then we'll make a determination from there.
Presented to the council, how?
But that's, again.
Because that couldn't, if it gets presented to the council in an open session, that's open to everybody and it's marked confidential and it's up to subjection. As to, you're saying it's confidential, we have to then determine if it is in front of everyone. Will that be allowed in executive?
I really don't.
Will that be, how does this work is what I'm trying to ask.
I think that's my problem. As I said, anything that's marked confidential, and again, that it involves a Joe Smith or a Susie Smith or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. If we just give a blanket, yes, it's okay. I think we're opening ourselves to more litigation.
What
which
about
is
any case we've
which is
had? What about any case we've had? What if every person that's been in a case wants us to open this up?
So you're a legal counsel.
If I'm
Yes.
allowed to participate, and if I may ask some questions. Number one, can you tell us who the attorney was that you spoke to?
I'd rather not.
Okay. Secondly, in your resolution, which again, you very artfully read into the record, and you also presented it, even though it hasn't been, there's no findings of fact. You haven't completed your investigation, yet you've impugned my reputation twice now by having this printed
and reading it into the record.
Can I
Hold on,
impugn your
hold
red-
on.
No.
First,
If
where
Mr.
is, let me
Williamson, hold
finish,
on.
let me
Hold
finish,
on.
Mr.
I'm
Bourget.
gonna finish.
Let me
No,
finish,
no,
Mr. Bourget.
I'm the
Let him
councilman. You're
finish.
gonna wait a second.
He was
I did
speaking.
not
Let me-
impugn, I did not impugn you.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not. I said there are accusations. Have there not
Hold
been
on.
accusations against you?
That's my next question.
He's
What
speaking
are the
first.
accusations?
The accusations have been out there all
No.
along.
Mr. Reed.
I'm
was
not gonna say
mis-
what they are, because now you're indicating that
Mr.
I'm
Reed,
gonna hurt
if
your
you may,
reputation.
let me finish. Mr.
time.
Reed was asked on 2 occasions by Councilman President Goslin, Councilman Licciardi, to present to this council allegations, accusations, anything he wanted to in writing, and he did not. Several months later, almost half a year later, there was this issue of omissions and errors, which again, I still don't know what that means. So as far as the ongoing accusations against the town and the solicitor during the court proceedings, maybe I wasn't there, but I don't recall any third party, any entity, any person, any individual, including the Reed's counsel, having any problems during the court proceedings.
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have, okay. Maybe you can.
No, in writing,
Maybe you can fill me
when I
in.
get a moment to speak.
And since the town has been dismissed from the case, and whereas the town has been dismissed from the lawsuit for 2.5 years, it's 3.5 years, not 2.5 years. Still incurring costs to the taxpayers. The only reason you're still incurring costs to the taxpayers is because of your investigation. This case was done in January of 2019. The only time it was brought up after that was at the infamous council meeting at the West Warwick High School, which was July of 19. Then it was done. When you got elected, you brought it back into play. Fine. But when you indicate that you want the most appropriate way to answer the questions, I still don't know what the questions are. But you're not asking to release confidential documents. What you're doing is asking to waive the attorney-client privilege, which this public entity has, and you're also asking to waive attorney confidentiality. The interlocal trust has already told you in a very generic sense of the way, if you do that, you're going to open the door, not only for this matter, but for every other matter that's pending, has been pending, or shall be pending, which includes criminal prosecution, by the way, and any other civil matters. So if you're going to open up the door, set a precedent that you're going to provide information to these disgruntled litigants who could not get this in discovery while the case was pending. After the case was over, you're going to open up Pandora's box to everything. Now, I'll give you an example. And I hate to say this, but you do this, I guarantee anybody that was involved in a station fire is going to come back to this town and say, I want to see everything. And that's going to reopen up that can of worms.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just letting you know that. If I'm going to participate in this, I'm already going to tell you right now. You don't have to go through this. I'm going to tell you right now, it's confidential, and it's confidential for a reason. And as the manager said, it's to protect all of your interests. It's also there to protect the interests of your former colleagues. And again, since this case was dismissed in 2019, that's 2 town councils ago. I don't even know if you have the authority to release records from 2 town councils ago. But again, as far as I'm concerned, and you can ask Mr. DiFiore or ask any attorney you want, I'll take a step back. I'll recuse myself from all of this. Because to tell you the truth, I'm tired, and I would love to speak publicly on this. Absolutely 100,000%. I would love to speak publicly on it. But you're my client, I'm your attorney, I'll do as you choose.
So, Mark? Some of the accusations made during the course of the case, and it was said in open court, and it's in the court records, is that you were doing work for foreign properties.
That was their opinion, not mine, not yours, not the client.
Are you gonna let me speak now?
Yeah, I'll let you
Okay,
speak.
you asked me what was being accused against you.
Yep.
Okay? I'm telling you, during the case, that was accused against you.
Right.
After the case, that was accused against you. After the case, you were padding the bills for your own financial interest. That's been said at this mic a few times. So I'm not the one impugning you. I'm not attacking you. I'm just trying to finish this so we don't have this anymore.
Right, if I may respond, besides the litigants, did any other person in this town make the same accusations against me?
For this case, no.
Yes.
For other cases, yes.
Thank you. Other
Okay.
cases, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Hence, I called the Attorney General's office, but they couldn't talk to me unless you're on the phone with me, which doesn't make any sense at all when the other.
Well,
subject
again,
that was gonna talk
I will
about.
say
That's all.
that is there to protect the municipal corporation's interest as a whole. And again, you want to open yourselves up to potential and possible liability?
That's up to you. I mean, that's not my job. I would counsel you not to do it. But if the interlocal trust has said, should you do something under your own accord, you may not have coverage in the future, which means should you get opened up to personal liability and somebody sues you in your personal capacity, you're on the hook. There's nothing the town can do for you. There's nothing the interlocal trust can do for you. So if that's the route you want to take, feel free.
This is where the problem comes in, where the laws are designed to protect those who have done wrong. And that's the bottom line. Full transparency government should be full transparency government. And I don't understand why we would hold this back when Mr. Williamson knows what's stamped confidential. He might not remember every single document. I get it. There's a lot there. I understand that. But he knows that majority of them are not going to hurt anybody or anything. Most of them have to do with negotiations. Most of them have to do with informing the council what's going on. Most of them have to do with just all kinds of nonsense along that line. And that's the stuff that basically is what needs to be released.
Any other questions or comments?
Is there, yes. Again, so you don't intend to do a report?
The report is done.
Okay,
I don't have any way of presenting it because of everything is stamped confidential. I can't do it in an executive session because it's not a lawsuit. It's not a lawsuit. And if we do it in an executive session, we have to put the Reed's name and the news name, and they're going to want to be there. And if they're there, they have access to the information. If I do it in an open session, it's all public record. Then everything is stamped confidential. Now it's a violation. Even the attorney I talked to, I couldn't tell that person anything that's confidential because I'd be breaking confidentiality.
Right.
That's why you got the generic statement that if I said Joe Smith is ugly, you know, there's a lawsuit that could be had because this person has no idea what's in all these documents.
and again, my concern is not opening up the town. And is there another way? I agree in transparency, with transparency and being open, but not at the cost of putting the town, exposing the town to more litigation.
I
And
agree.
that's my
Believe me,
concern.
I can't stand
So-
paying lawyers. No offense to Mr. Williamson, it's just the truth.
Well,
You know?
to be honest with you, to ask
No
him
offense
to
to Al
do,
either, for that he's
Yeah.
sitting here.
Before the planning board.
You know, I'm sorry.
to approve this resolution really is just gonna, because I think I pretty much know that I assume, I've not spoken to the solicitor. I've intentionally not spoken to anybody sitting here. Why would we pay him to go through that exercise to tell us they're confidential? Because that's what he's gonna tell us. Isn't that just gonna add to, I mean,
Because it has to be a legal reason why it's still confidential when we're dismissed with prejudice. And majority of this stuff only had to do with the pending case at the time. The case is no longer pending. None of that stuff matters anymore. If we'll use a hypothetical example, if I'm suing you and and we're in negotiations.
Yep.
Okay, and all that stuff's confidential, and then boom, case is dismissed with prejudice. Really, our negotiations, what difference does it make?
well, if you called me ugly. I
Yeah,
would be,
exactly.
yeah,
You know,
yes, that's right.
You know, minus things like that, but I guarantee you, there's nothing like that in there. The only negative thing was sent in a sticky note directly to them.
We know
Yeah.
about that, yes.
And the other question I have is the actual case against West Warwick is done, but is the actual case against Fall and Properties done? Because that can open up the town into that, both sides.
It's been adjudicated, it just hasn't been finalized as far as what the financial settlement's gonna be. That's
So it's not
That's
settled.
not true. It's going to trial in September. Nothing's been finalized. It's going to a jury trial in September.
What's going to a jury trial?
This case that's still pending between 4N Properties and RLC.
It's been up to the Supreme Court already. They've already won.
And they remanded it back on the issue of damages.
Right, damages, that's what I just said. The financial part's still going, but as far as the actual case, it's done. The town, you know, recognized Noon's Lane as a private road, not a private road, yeah, private road right away, you know, and the Superior Court found it, and then the Supreme Court found it also. So I mean, that's all done. It's just as far as damages now.
Would it be possible for you, based on your investigation, which I know has been extraordinarily lengthy and thorough,
At least 80 hours.
to put,
They didn't
the-
charge 100 something knowledge.
to put together a list of those questions or quote unquote accusations that we can address, because you can go into executive session on performance. So at least we would have the opportunity to hear a response.
That doesn't shine the light on to where we need it to stop it from keep coming up at public comment every meeting. If it's just us that has that knowledge, I mean,
Do you think that if we release it, it's gonna not come up in public comment? Does anybody believe that? Because I don't.
no, I think it's,
No.
it pushes it to an end.
But
Because, I mean,
think,
there's only so much you can talk about after that. There's an end.
again, it's that,
Well,
I
I'm gonna
hope
be,
so.
I'm gonna be honest with you. And it does, papers have been filed, and I asked the question today. I said, if Mr. Reed gets elected, does he have access to this? By rights, you probably didn't have rights to have access to it because he was not on the council. I asked that specific question. Does the elected official, so if Mr. Reed gets elected as Ward 3 councilman and he comes in and wants all this paperwork on his case, does he have the right to have that paperwork? I was told you might not even have the right to have that paperwork, but the council gave you this special consideration as a council person. So I really don't know, Mark. I'm in the same boat you are, but again, I don't want to open the town up to any further
If Mr.
litigation.
Reed does get elected and does get on here and does have access, he's still stuck because if it's stamped confidential, he puts it out there, he's gonna jam himself up.
You're reading confidential about yourself. It's not
That's
going
not
to really
like-
stay
That's
confidential.
not until
No, because a lot of the
November,
stuff
and
that's confidential is nothing to do with
that's
Mr.
a
Reed.
maybe, so.
Yeah. So is that just, I'm just trying to come up with an alternative. Again, I think I heard the solicitor say he has not been provided or is unaware of what the accusations are. So can we provide a
We've
list?
heard the accusations. I just said what they
can we
were.
Can we do them formally? So everybody knows. I mean, I agree with you. I'm tired of talking about it. I personally think we never should have gotten into it.
No, we shouldn't have.
We never should have been in the court case, but I didn't have a say in that. So that's just my opinion. I don't know how to get out of it at this point in time. I feel this is a very slippery slope, and I would be concerned approving a resolution that exposes the town to more litigation. And that's just, that being said, I would like
By
to be
listening to
able
Mr.
to,
Williamson's advice on a regular basis, we get sued for anything. Every decision we make up here, we can get sued for.
well,
So, I mean, it's just the way it is.
I think attorneys in general, but yes,
Right.
sometimes you need to, yes.
And again, the profession of attorney has a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because, they're expensive, but they're also very necessary. And, I understand all that. And I'm just trying to get this to a point where it's done and we can finish this portion of it.
And I commend the councilwoman for reaching out to the town manager and say, let's take Al and Tim out of this and get an opinion from the trust. And I have trust in the trust. It's so, I mean, they're warning us. I mean, again, I don't know who else.
That being said, I do want to know how we resolve this, and I don't know the answer to that. But I don't think this is it. This concerns me. And Mark, I appreciate you on short notice. I just happened to see Mark at the youth center. Was that yesterday?
Yesterday.
I
Seems like a
think
long time
yesterday,
away,
yes.
but it was
Yeah,
yesterday.
So did you provide this to the trust? This document right here?
I didn't speak in specifics.
So maybe that's something that could be done. Maybe we can the trust attorneys come and talk to us? I don't know the answer. I mean,
It just seems that there's a lot of, and again, this is ongoing, there's a lot of opinion, there's a lot of,
which we need to shed, which is why
and it's all.
Al
a
and
lot of
Tim
verbal.
shouldn't be involved in it. They're too close to it. We
But
need
honestly,
something
the
else.
specifics, honestly, in the general sense, don't matter. It could be any case we have against the names don't matter.
No,
At
they
this
don't.
point, they don't matter. I mean, obviously, I know why you don't want Tim to be involved in that, but the names don't matter. So that's why asking in a general sense, I mean, it doesn't matter who the names are in this case. We won a case 3.5 years ago. Why would we open it back up? I don't understand why we would open it back up to more.
Writing from the trust.
We're not opening the case up.
No.
But we're opening the chance to potential litigation or other people that have brought cases before and go, well, you open this one up, why can't I have access to mine? And then you open up the town to potential. So, I mean, if we don't want to pay Tim more money, this is like, I mean, why I don't understand why we would open this can of worms back up. I don't understand.
Just so tired of us as a society, not even to do with this case. We walk on eggshells with everything. Everything's, but what if this one little thing turns into this mountain of all this other stuff?
I hear you.
That's the fear factor that is out there for everything, everything. And I'm so sick and tired of it. Everybody's afraid to make a decision because of what might happen in the future. I am so sick and tired of it. We are elected as leaders. We need to lead. We need to not lead with more fear and shut everything down because of fear. We need to lead because that's what we got elected to do. But our society goes around these big circles all the time with nothing getting accomplished because everybody lives in fear.
I don't disagree completely with that. I don't disagree. In this
I'm-
case, though, I disagree with opening this up.
I don't think that, I know it's not a fear, it's a reality of a financial hit to the town that we just can't afford to have.
That might happen.
So again,
I think we've actually had somebody threaten that already.
Well,
can we, well, if the council agrees, I don't know if this would end this whole thing. Could this right here, this resolution, go before the attorney at the trust, the insurance carrier at the trust, and both, and get their written opinion on this? And that comes back to us. That, I don't know, I'm just trying to find a way to solve this, that, you know, I think we're in the same position.
I just, again, if there are specific questions, let's give them to the solicitor. Let's make him answer them. And I mean, I don't know that he's had that opportunity. I don't know what they are. I've heard, what did you say? You talked about padding bills and you've talked about
That's what Mr. Rita stood right up there and
representing,
said.
yes.
Mr. Rita stood at that
he had-
microphone and said,
John
this is
has
not anything
absolute-
I'm saying.
No,
This is
but-
what has been said
So I
against the
thought you're-
town and against the solicitor.
And I thought
That's
the-
the way it's worded there.
I
Mr.
thought-
Williamson tried to flip it and make it seem like I'm impugning him
No,
when
no,
I'm
no,
not.
no.
You drafted the resolution. Mr. Reed didn't.
Doesn't matter. So what? He stands there and impugns you. You can't
You
say
have the
anything.
authority and the power as the town council to tell him that he's out of order and to sit down, but you don't choose to do that.
Am I the
Okay.
council president?
You got 5 members that can move at any time that someone's
You can
out
have it
of order.
anytime you want. The gavel?
But you can move if he's out of order. If
Right,
you
so
think he's out
that's-
of order,
That's not,
make a
what-
motion.
that's not what we're here to talk about.
But my whole point is, you're making it seem like by this resolution and my comment, by reading it into the record, is me impugning you when I'm not. All I'm saying is, these are the accusations that are being made against the town and against the solicitor. That's all I said.
And once again, my response is, he was asked twice to provide that and he never did. Yet you put it into a resolution format based upon what he said.
Yes, at a
Okay.
public hearing,
Now,
not
did
something
you-
privately to me.
Did you indicate in your resolution that it was the litigant who's making the accusations against us? Or is it someone else? You didn't put litigant in there. You said there are accusations.
Mr. Williamson, I wish I could be as perfect as you. Oh, wait a minute, you're not perfect because we'll get into that another time on some other issues.
Yes.
But as far
Absolutely.
as-
Anytime you
as
want,
far as-
Councilman,
Okay.
anytime you want.
As far as the billing goes, I want to clarify something about the billing, Mr. Williamson.
The billing's
okay?
not on the agenda tonight. I don't want to violate the Open
You
Meetings
already
Act, so
brought
I'm
it
not
up.
going to
You already
respond.
brought it up, so you already violated.
You
It's
brought
listed
it up,
there.
not
No,
me.
You did. You said the billing started after I reopened this case. That's what you said. No, the billing started again 2 days after I was elected. You started billing the town again, 2 days after I was elected.
Okay.
July 8th of last year. I was elected on July 6th. So you started it with, for whatever reason, when I had not even mentioned anything yet, because I haven't even been sworn in at that point.
Okay.
So let's get facts.
Well, anytime you want to put the facts on the table,
Then
in
open
public,
this
let's
up.
do it. I
Then
can't
Let's
address
do
it.
this.
Listen, go ahead. Let the interlocal trust tell you.
See, I fall back to blaming it, pushing it
Well,
to trust.
geez,
I want it
I'm
open, I want it
I'm
open, but
sorry.
you don't
I mean,
ever want it.
I like to
open.
follow the rules and law. Obviously,
Okay.
you don't.
We'll see on that.
Okay.
Rules and laws.
Any other discussion? I'm going to take a roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Roll call vote for what? We talked about a lot of things here tonight.
exactly the resolution. That's what's on the table right now.
To approve the
To
resolution.
release the documents.
Yes to approve, no to not approve, to release. Councilman Lichardi.
I'd like to hear from the trust in writing.
So may I
Regarding this
suggest we
document.
table this resolution for this evening? get some more information from the trust, and perhaps in the meantime, come up with another alternative to present some information and answer some questions that have been asked. So I would amend the resolution to table this resolution now for this evening.
I'll second that.
Motion to table, seconded by Councilman Licciardi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I only heard 3 votes.
I'm going to take a roll call vote to table. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
No.
Councilman Bourget,
No.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote no. To table it. So now it's a vote to either release it or not release it. So I'm taking a vote, yes to release, no to not. Councilman Licciardi,
I'm gonna say yes.
Councilman Messier,
No.
Councilman Bourget,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
No,
and I vote no.
I think that was a mistake.
I still feel better with it written from the trust.
I would.
I do. Maybe that would end this whole thing.
This is government once again being shut down.
Next item.
Okay, consideration of recommendations for charter amendments proposed by the Charter Review Committee and staff.
Have a motion?
I don't know.
And I don't think this is, no,
Not a resolution,
no.
just consideration.
So last year, the Charter Review Committee had sent you guys some recommendations after reviewing the charter. I personally had asked for some more time with it as I had just joined the
Correct.
team. So I've gone through and looked at their recommendations. Al has also given us some further recommendations that, of possible amendments. And this, I don't know if any of you had a chance to review the documents that were sent.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, I had a couple, but the one that really bothers me is the one that was raised last week. And that's about the political split on the zoning board and the planning board. Now, he remembers, and I remember why that's there. Back in the late 60s, when I wanted to be the assistant town solicitor. In order to become the assistant town solicitor in those days, I had to meet with every member of the Democratic Town Committee, because the Democratic Town Committee and the Republican Town Committee, depending on who was sitting up there, ran the town. If the Democratic Town Committee had said I couldn't be assistant solicitor, I couldn't be assistant solicitor. So that was put in a day when this town was extremely political. And they wanted to make sure that the political split, and in those days, it was usually Democratic, the party running it. They wanted to make sure that there was never a complete one party on either the planning board or the zoning board, because decisions were made politically. I can give you an example of how things were done. When I took office, I noticed that in this town, the only place you could have a paint and wallpaper store was in the village of Warwick. When the zoning code was drawn, one of the councilmen happened to own a paint and wallpaper store in Warwick. So this was done in a very political atmosphere. I would like to see that removed. Council and me, the attorney, and Elaine didn't even know the composition of the zoning board of the planning board. I think it's a long time that should be gone. That's my big one. I can submit a report to the council on some of the other things, but I feel extreme.
Should we have a workshop? I know we talked about, should we have a whole we should have a whole workshop on this, right?
That's what I was gonna say, because I did go through the 38 pages.
That's a lot.
There's some in there that I agree with, and I'm shocked it's still in there.
Right.
Some other stuff that we had some questions on, but I'll disagree with you there because you're right. I don't think things are as bad politically as they were at one time, but we don't know what 20 years is gonna be for the next set.
And this
I mean,
needs-
It could be the Republicans in charge and dominating everything and overriding what the Democrats want, and we don't want that either.
But the
So-
independent throws a kink into it now as well. So
It does,
let's
but I
say-
think something should still be in there just to make sure that one party rule never happens.
My only concern on that, Mark, is that since 2004, I can't remember a matter coming before either planning or zoning that was of political nature. This was done when it was political nature. I just don't see the members of the zoning board thinking, or the planning board thinking in terms of, this is what the Democratic Party would want, or this is what the Republican.
Look at our society today. Did you think we'd be like we are in so many different ways 20 years ago? 20 years is a long time. Things change. I would rather personally, and again, when we have a workshop, or if we have a workshop, it's something we can discuss.
What's the
then, but-
deadline that we need to, because it's gonna be November, right?
So in order to put anything on the ballot for November, you would have to make, not me, you would have to make a decision. And a ballot question would have to be up to Secretary of State's office for August 10th. So,
That's pretty, yeah.
Really?
yeah. They want it 90 days
Okay.
in advance.
That's a little tough.
Yeah,
There goes the second meeting.
Yeah, the second meeting.
but I do think it should be
Everything
workshop
okay, Ma?
style.
I don't think it'd be a really long meeting overall. I mean, most of the stuff in there, I think it's easy to change.
I'll call whatever day. I'm good on any Tuesday.
Do next week. 19th,
Um,
the 19th, it's a week from
next
today.
week- Next week, I'm not here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think given the nature of it and some of the changes, you should be here. Yes.
26,
26.
I can make myself available
26.
anytime the week of the 25th.
so Tuesday, 26th,
Any day works for me also. So I'm gonna go Tuesday.
Any day, anytime.
6 o'clock,
On what?
Tuesday.
Tuesday to 26.
Could we possibly do the Monday? I'm not sure I'm gonna be available the 26th. Would anybody be available on Monday, the 25th?
Works for me.
I can make it happen.
What
Just gotta
time?
make sure there's no planning or zoning or court or anything like that.
No, nothing on August. July, no,
July
July.
25th.
no
I wrote
zoning.
August.
We did 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock.
Whatever time you guys want. Yep.
Yeah, 6 works.
Madam Clerk, what's that August date?
Oh, July.
No.
August
Deadline
10th.
8:10.
8:10.
So we make that night, we make our determinations, and then from that point, is there a certain, once we do that, does there have to be a second
So
reading
then I
or?
would just at whatever your determinations are, I would rely on the solicitor to draft the actual questions for the ballot.
So then it would, so then we would approve that on the first meeting in August.
You don't have a meeting before that.
No, that's right.
You would
we did
have
the
to approve
16th.
it. You would have. to
We could
at
approve it that
point.
night. Well, we could approve it. I want to make sure we can approve it that night and it doesn't have to go to a second reading.
That
Okay,
night and then submission prior to the 10th, get you on the ballot.
okay, okay. All right, thank you. I want to make sure.
I'll submit a report prior to that.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate it.
Consideration or request for Garten Street pole placement petition.
Move the resolution.
Second,
Moving second, any discussion? Simple pole movement on the street. Any questions or concerns?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right. Upcoming appointments. Sewer Use Board of Review appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Zoning Board. That was filled this evening. Let me try to get the right one here. So that's no longer vacant. Next meeting, I'll be posting for the alternate on the zoning board. Planning Board, appointment to fill vacancy as an alternate member with a term to expire July 2027. That was also.
That was
filled.
tonight.
All right, yep, that was also filled, so. That's it. Public forum.
Public comment. Anything from the public? Come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Thanks for the excitement. Ross Adrian, 37 Brayton Street. I first wanted to just comment on my comment earlier. I'm referring to the basically the historic nature of that land. Okay, in other words, they have grandfather rights as it is. As soon as they change the zoning, they lose those grandfather rights. That's all I want to say on that. I didn't mean to turn around and walk away on you. Mr. Knott, I don't know what software you're using or plan to use as a pavement management system. I know that I was lucky to be involved in the URI program about 25 years ago when we evaluated a city much bigger than West Warwick. And I think it's a great thing, but it has to be something that someone in DPW can learn, to operate. And he can maybe take DPW employees, as we don't have an engineering department, and have them evaluate the streets. Okay, so it has to be an easy software to use. And some of the other softwares, other than the government one, I think it was Database at the time, but this was 25 years ago. So some of them are difficult to use. I remember when I was an assistant engineer over in Pawtucket, they had a company that provided all the software for all the city departments. That was a great software, but their software for pavement management was impossibly difficult to use and update. And you have to keep updating that software. Mr. Williamson, been our solicitor for so long, but if you've noticed the January 6th things, you're basically not, these people are not your clients as a town council. We and them as citizens of the town are your clients. So you may be able to talk, about some of these things. I also agree wholeheartedly with you that government should be totally open. I'm sorry, Dave, I normally follow you all the time. I do believe in what he believes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Any other public comment?
Question for Mark real quick.
Can we move that table from?
Mark, while waiting, quick question.
Yep.
Update on the town's website being updated. We have a time frame for that?
It'll probably be at least another 30 days. Cindy and Chuck just started sitting down with individual department heads to review their matters. So the main part is constructed. Now it's just tweaking and updating some information. So once they transfer it from our current live site to the new site, we're trying to reduce some of that extra work. So
Thank you.
it goes in better.
I get 2 emails this week, but I'm trying to negotiate this website. So I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. So I just looking for a time.
It's not friendly and it's not mobile friendly. So
It's hard to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Al Sakosha. I'm actually not from West Warwick. I'm from Cranston, 199 Salem Avenue, Cranston. I'm here. I don't even know exactly what it has to do with, but I was told through some people that basically some people were with Jay basically on him about the whole costume thing and all this stuff. Can I just give you 2 minutes of my story?
Sure.
All right, so, well, first of all, you guys have to fix the handicap ramp out there. It's all busted up at the bottom. But besides that, so November 30th of 2020, I had an epidural injection. The doctor basically punctured my main anterior artery. I was paralyzed instantly from the chest down. So I went from Rhode Island Hospital to Boston Spalding Rehab. So it happened during COVID, and you'll understand why I'm telling this. I couldn't speak to anybody, didn't see my wife for 93 days. So I started doing like a little journey on Facebook because it was the only way I could actually talk to people. So in the long run, Angelica from Gel's Kitchen saw it. We had some kind of a connection, only met a few times, but we both owned restaurants. She still has hers. I got rid of mine about 5 years ago. And her and Jay ended up doing a fundraiser for me. Now, mind you, I've never met Jay. I only met him the day he came to bring the money to my house. Angelica, I know. So they did a fundraiser for Valentine's Day. Off the top of my head, I want to say it raised a little over $5,000. So with that $5,000, I was allowed to basically put a down payment on a power wheelchair because I got turned down by insurance for some unknown reason. And it was also money put towards redoing a house for a handicap bathroom. So, I mean, dressing up as a costume, I got to tell you, most of the people, not most of the people, a good portion of the people, they loved it. I mean, it was fun. It was funny. You know, it got them out there. And I mean, I can't be any more thankful that I am to Jay. And to be honest with you, I haven't talked to him or seen him since the day he came into my house, you know, once. So in the scheme of things, dressing up as a costume when you're trying to raise money for someone that can really use it, what's the big deal? I mean, I don't even know if it's anybody up here that's doing it to him. I have no clue. I was told by two people that he was kind of getting his, you know, busted. So I just wanted to compare and say that because I don't know if it's anything. But really, after going through something like this, your life changes in an instant. Like you don't plan on walking into a doctor's office to never walk again, you know? So life is too short. And if he wants to wear a costume, I'm gonna wear a freaking costume. I mean, I gotta say, when they did it, I was in a hospital, I believe at that point, 123 days. I did a total of 165 days in the last 20 months between infections and all this other stuff that's going on because of what the doctor did, which was in the end was 100% negligence. But without him, I mean, we'd still be in trouble because they basically got us going again, you know, so that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for your story, Mrs. Kosher, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
You're gonna need help with the ramp, sir?
No,
No, you're good? Okay.
just the bottom, that's all.
I'll take note of that, please.
Asking Jeff right now.
Hello, my name is Angelica Penta. I actually live in Warwick, 30 Dayton Ave in Warwick, but I do have a business in West Warwick. I did make notes because although some of you may see me on social media, I'm actually not a good public speaker. First off, before I even get started, because I may have to reword what I wrote, you guys kind of scared me a little bit. No, I'm teasing, but I just want to say that having a business in West Warwick, first off, you guys probably don't get the credit that all of you deserve, each and every one of you. I understand my husband's involved in politics, so I understand how hard you guys work. I understand that it is not easy and the bashing and all that stuff, it's hard. So thank you as a business owner here. Also to the fire and the police, they are always amazing. And I'm so proud to have a business in West Warwick. So like I said, my name is Angelica Penta. My husband and I are the owners of Gel's Kitchen. First off, please know that I do not live in West Warwick, so I cannot vote in West Warwick. So this is not influencing in any way. I'm neutral. Okay. We own two restaurants. One's in West Warwick, one is in Warwick. Like I said, I wanted to start and say that we have a great council in West Warwick, although not everyone favors politicians, but nobody's perfect. I think you guys are all doing a great job. Like I said, I can tell you that I can tell everybody that I have fundraised with some of you up here and also past council members up here. And we've done lots of good things. But my main reason for being here tonight is that I was upset that Councilman Jason Messier has been bashed And I feel like he was even bullied for helping me raise money for a charity. Also, it was completely 100% my idea for him to make that TikTok that I'm sure everybody's seen. And I'm really sorry, Jay, that you got all the hate. But I mean, in reality, I thought that it was funny because, I mean, that's my own opinion. I understand everyone may not agree with that, but my intention was solely to make people laugh. We all know that Jay can be a goofball, and I thought it would be great for everyone to have something to laugh at, especially after the last few years that we had. I would like to say that I did not fully read the articles about Jay or watch the council meeting because I try to stay away from the negative. It'll only upset me more, and then I may say things that out of fear may hurt my business. So I agree with you on that part, but certain things were brought to my attention, and I felt like I needed to be here tonight. Jason Messier has been dressing up and delivering for different charities with us on his own time, with his own car, his own gas, and doesn't make a penny off of this. Yes, I do advertise with my business with him, but that is my business, has nothing to do with the charities that we raise money for. We're actually supposed to be jumping out of a plane soon, but I probably shouldn't, we don't want anyone cursing us about that, but
Some people want me to jump out.
yeah, they probably may rig your parachute. We can't tell them what day it is. But Al is here tonight, and actually the $5,000 that we raised for him was in one day of Jay delivering. I wanted to say that, and Al's story is the reason why we will always continue to do this. Maybe we may have to change his costume up a little bit, but people like Al is the reason why I will always continue, and hopefully Jay will too. We always get social media involved on the costumes. And in fact, that costume, somebody actually donated $200 for Jay to wear that unicorn costume. And somebody also paid for the costume. That's how much they wanted him to wear it. Jay actually wore this unicorn costume last year, but nobody complained about it. Nobody put it in the papers. Nobody made a big deal about it, but probably because it wasn't an election year. Just throwing that out there. Unfortunately, politics can get a little dirty, but together we have raised thousands and thousands of dollars for all different charities, but yet he is still, being targeted for this, which unfortunately I feel like is my fault because I always come up with these random ideas and Jay just does them because he knows it's helping people. I say that I feel like he's being bullied because sometimes I feel like that's what happens to him, and I truly feel bad for him. But he still never says no when I ask him to do something crazy. There are many things, that political people do in the public eye. For instance, I don't know if everyone watches the news, but we have a Rhode Island senator that makes worse TikToks than Jay. And so I feel like the whole issue with Jay should go away. But some people also brought up the Alzheimer's. Made it look like we were in the wrong for raising money for Alzheimer's. I asked Jay if we can donate to Alzheimer's because on April 6th, my grandmother passed away after losing her fight to Alzheimer's. My family suffered watching her and suffered, and this is a cause that is dear to my heart. My grandmother is one of the best people they've ever had the privilege of having in my life. And I wanted to honor her by raising money for her illness that she suffered from. It had nothing to do with what costume Jay wore. I didn't care what he wore. It shouldn't matter. All that matters is the money that was raised. I have been to many fundraisers, and there's actually a Rhode Island strip club that raises massive money for lots of charities, big, small, local. And I'm sure the girls at the strip clubs don't get bashed like Jay does, but I get it that these big charities still take their money. So if everybody is saying that Jay dressing as a unicorn shouldn't have anything to do with Alzheimer's, well, strip clubs shouldn't have anything to do with any Alzheimer's, heart disease. I'm not even going to say certain things because it's not my place to say the nonprofits that get money from them, but that's my opinion. And I support money coming from anywhere. So good for the strip clubs. But I get that Jay is a political figure and he represents West Warwick. But isn't this the guy that everybody voted in? He is the one that everyone knows he was a goofball before he got voted in. He used to go out in public in Ninja Turtle pajamas and people still voted him in. So this is what you voted him in. People want normal people to represent us. They don't want a puppet, a political puppet that is going to follow the rules and do what everybody says. It is 2022. Like you said, nothing is the same anymore. Everything is different. All the rules are different. Everything that has happened in the past so many years, I think it's normal. I'm also told that Jell's Kitchen's brought up a lot of the meetings, good or bad. I feel special, so thanks to everyone that brings us up. When people say Jell advertises, for us, and he can't mention us, that we're collecting donations for fire victims, toy deliveries for kids on Christmas, donations to feed frontline workers. Well, thanks for getting the word out anyway. So good or bad. By the way, we're currently collecting juice boxes for a nonprofit. There's a box in the front for you guys, so I'll drop them off. I would also like to say that people that publicly post that they will not support any business that Jay advertises for, I feel really bad that you guys are missing out on some awesome small businesses in our town. That's their own problem. And unfortunately, it's public people, but that's another story. I don't dislike anybody. I still will, I try not to be negative. I still have nothing bad to say about them. We recently purchased our Warwick location, and my lease was coming up at my West Warwick location. After the past few years that we had, I could have easily just let my lease run out, had less stress, and only worried about one location that will be my forever place since we own the building now. Instead, we signed a 10-year lease a year early because we truly love our community. We want to be here. Anytime something happens or someone needs help, it's posted on social media, and people in our community never hesitate to donate. I feel like in a world full of so much negative, our community always finds the positive. I have never seen so many people and businesses come together and work together, as well as the fire and police. They have gotten involved with some stuff we've done as well and donated to stuff for us. Even the businesses that most would look at as our competition, we work together. And I absolutely love the business owners in our community. And a lot of them I know because Jay knows the guy. Jay brings our community together and doesn't even realize it. There are people that don't like Jay, people that don't like me, people that don't like their own family. And that's okay, because that is just life. But there's no reason to bring people down because of it. In conclusion, I will wrap this up. I would like to say that I'm sorry to the council and everyone else that had to deal with emails, articles, hate towards you guys, whatever the case is. And I would also like to say sorry to anyone that has a problem with how I contribute to the community. And I'm sorry because I will continue to still do what I love to do. And I will help out anytime I can. If I have to listen to what people say and went by what they said, I would have never have married my husband. Obviously, you can tell he's older than me. I would have never have had my son as a teen mom. I would not have owned 2 restaurants, and I would not have be the person that I am today. Jay, this is for you. Don't ever let someone's opinion change who you are. Stay away from the people that hold you back. Thank you to the council for your time. Thank you to our awesome people in our community that keep our community strong. You are the reason that we love being a part of West Warwick and the reason that we will always stay in West Warwick, unless people push us out. No, this may potentially push us out now.
We have it 10 years now, so.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Jill, for your comments. I know you've, even in the past during your fundraisers, you brought politicians together who.
We had a pie eating contest,
Politicians against, who are running against each other.
Yes, and we can do that to fix the ramp downstairs. So, or the fields, whatever you need. I'd love to see you guys, or we can pie each other. I'm sure there's plenty of people here that would love to pie you guys. But thank you for your time, and thank you for the awesome job you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Hi, members of the council, town management, Michael Penta, 30 Dayton Ave in Warwick. I've been involved in politics for probably a good 25 years. I've missed about 6 meetings in 22 years at the council chambers in my town. I'm an appointed official in Warwick as well. Run 3 businesses, very successful businesses. I'm involved with people from the state, from the governor's office down to the council. 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, when we opened up Jell's Kitchen in Warwick, I think back then, West Warwick, we didn't know, sorry, my favorite one is in Warwick, where I'm close to home, but so in any event, we walked around West Warwick. We've talked to previous council members, good friends with Angelo at the time, other council members, you're on maybe, I forget, but we've had, yes, Phyllis, we've had a lot of conversations. Back then, 10 years ago, a prediction of West Warwick being down under in 10 years. Here we are, 11 years later. You guys are doing an awesome job. I'm sure people in the future, they're gonna come in, they're gonna continue to do a great job, put it together. You got points, you got good points, you got bad points. But the town's, to me, I see the town is still moving forward in a great shape. Okay, does it have a long way to go? Absolutely. I'm from Warwick, right? We're still on the policeman, right? But I gotta tell you something. We're in rough shape too. We're in real rough shape. Okay, I'm running for that council seat again this term. Why, I don't know, but the same thing, the city needs it. Every city has its ups and downs.
I think we all say that. Why do we do this?
But I am gonna tell you, I got in trouble a few weeks ago on Facebook about making a public comment. You know what? I told the mayor, I didn't get where I am from hiding under a rock. As a council member, never change yourselves. Stay the way you are. I'm never gonna change. I'm gonna be the outspoken person I am. I act like a clown. I don't care who I'm around, where I'm at. I don't care what kind of title I carry. Keep doing your job, do a great job. I want to continue to stay in West Warwick, okay, with this restaurant, with this longer term lease. I think it's a great town. I think it's only going to be better in the future. Just keep looking up. Don't let anybody bring you down, and don't change. Keep doing what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Stan, just state your name and address for the record.
Stan Tabak, 12 Gendron Street, West Warwick. Just kind of wanted to say a couple things, and just what I've been observing. I've been in the community 35 years now, and we've been in some bad places. And of all the councils that I've been seeing, this has been the best one I've had, or I've seen and witnessed. Even though we had a little discussions this evening, which I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm not going to go up there this evening, but I'm kind of inspired by the Jell's Kitchen and to come up here and say this. But everybody, I mean, even the little discussion that went through here, it's still, there was two people, Jason and Mary Beth, trying to come up with an idea or a solution and working together. And when it was all said and done, everybody calmed down. I've never seen that. I've seen councils where they fight and they bicker and blow things up and stuff like that. Nothing gets done, nothing gets resolved, and is divide, which is mostly what you see in this country today. But I don't see it here. I don't see it here. I haven't seen it in any years. I've seen Jason grow in this position, and he does a lot of charitable things. There's a lot of heart, and all the people up here have a big heart. Jay being one of them, doing what he does, but he's doing it to raise money. I've seen Jason, he does the Easter egg thing. He did something with homeless people. He got them out of their situation. This is beyond the council. There's just good people here. Mary Beth tries to come up with some middle ground. She's kind of the bookkeeper, the accounting, or the numbers person.
Consulting. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
no, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. And I've seen many of you here have an opinion, but I see them listen to other people and sometimes change and vote the other way. I've never seen that before. And this town right now is moving in a very positive direction. There's a lot of good things happening here. You can see it happening with all the development that's going on. It's taken a long time to get to that point. We also have a town manager. I see cooperation there too. We've had some other town managers that were fighting and all that stuff. Everybody is not necessarily, mostly on the same page, at least trying to get things done and resolved. Our town manager comes to our Arctic Village Association meetings, just about every one. And we've been able to get some things done that normally would not get done. You look at the flowers out there, that's something that the AVA is doing, but also in conjunction with the town and having the support. We have some good people here. And I know we got elections coming up, but why throw a bomb into this thing? And the other thing that's the most amazing thing about all this cooperation, it's very balanced. We got 3 Democrats, we got a Republican, we got an independent. It's not like it's all one party.
That's,
Jason's an independent as well.
you're an independent. It's more balanced than I thought it was. Look at that.
It means I owe nobody nothing.
Yes, and that's what I think we have here. We have discussion and and what happened, I think it was great. I mean, it was whatever. And it didn't turn out that bad where some people were come to Fisk, I've seen some bad stuff. But this is something that's been real positive on all levels. And I want to see you 5 guys or 4 individuals here after the next election. Because I think it's a good ride. I want to keep it going in the right direction. There's too many good things happening to this town right now. It's taken too long to get here. We're not talking about bankruptcy, and that was just about 15 years ago. And we got David, the experience he has here. Mark's been here and he's been back and he's got some law enforcement background. Everybody's got interesting backgrounds to bring to the table. And I think we've got a good combination. And I really appreciate all of you and everything that you do. That's all I want to say.
And I agree with you. I think everybody up here has ultimately, in the end, the same exact goal. We might not get there the same ways. We might not always agree with each other. I don't think all 5 of us should always agree with each other, but at least we can have calm, cool. I mean, sometimes we do get heated up here, but at the end of the night, when we walk away from this desk, I don't want to hold anything towards anybody. I think in the end, we all have the equal goal, and the only way to get there, and I've learned in the past, you can't live through hatred. It's not worth it.
This is the first time I've ever seen this happen. It's really a good scenario. It's a good picture. And I don't want to see it go away.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
Robin Burgoyne, Duke Street. Some of you, hit the button. All right. This is
I think
like
you hit
for
the
the
button.
council.
I think you hit it twice.
Turned it off on you.
I didn't turn it off.
It's okay.
Hit it again. There you go.
Is that better? Oh my God. Okay. All right. So some of you might have seen, I guess we're going back to the whole costume issue, whatever it is. May have seen pictures of me with Jay on our adventures during chocolate covered strawberry delivery days. That I did on my own time with him for fun. We have a lot of fun on those days. It was always hilarious to plan the costumes and have discussions about like, what are you going to wear underneath that costume? And I mean, he's my friend. So this is what we do. And we're bringing attention to charities that maybe wouldn't have gotten attention before. My job for the deliveries was to take pictures, sometimes take bad videos or forget to press record on videos. And I also got to triple check the names because we had a couple of accidental, we had the name wrong. And it's truly a delight to see the look of surprise on the people's faces when they see a grown man with a dad bod walking up their driveway in a funny costume. It's just fun. And like Al was saying before, life is too short. It changes too fast. How can you just have that negativity about it? It's bringing attention to the good causes, which at the end of the day is behind the premise of the whole idea. There are those who say that he's doing it for attention, which you're correct, but it's not the negative attention. I watch him treat everyone that we visit, the teachers at the school. I remember the time where a bunch of kids opened the door. It was during COVID time and the kids were home from school and a bunch of kids opened the door and they were thrilled. And there was a couple who were celebrating their anniversary. There's moms. There was a woman who was on dialysis and she answered the door. And there was the gentleman who was bedbound. And we went and you treated everyone that you saw, you brought the positive energy, you treated everyone that you saw with respect and kindness that all humans deserve. And it's just wonderful to see. So of course, I love to do that. And it's not about the pictures and the attention for him. It's about the charity and connecting people with charities that maybe they had never heard of before. And that's it. I wanted to finish with this quote for you guys and for you guys. When you fully understand how often people cope with their own insecurities, fear, and unresolved issues by projecting negativity on you, you'll learn not to take the things that they say or do to heart. Those are their issues, and don't give them permission to make them yours. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hold on, Bert, we got one ahead of you.
With the rain and everything, maybe it should be, let him go. Thunder, I don't know if you saw the lightning out there.
I thought it was. Oh.
There's lightning.
John Reed, 62 Andrews Avenue. I'd just like to clarify a couple of things that Mr. Bourget had to say. This has nothing to do with the litigants, okay? What Mr. Bourget and what I've been trying to do, and I gave you all the paperwork that Mr. Williamson said you didn't get, you requested, you got it 2 months afterwards. This is the procedure that happened through this case. You can take my name, you can take everybody's name out of it, okay, and run it as a scenario. That's what we're looking to see what happened, and it never happens again. But if you want to twist the pretzel some more, you add people's names to it, you add that you're going to get sued, and you do exactly what the last journal article said about this council was silence. Silence is guilt in the eyes of the beholder, okay? If you don't, then you bring everything public, you go through it, and it's true transparency. What was right, what was wrong, but you can twist the pretzel again by putting all these liabilities out there. I have nothing to win here. I have nothing to lose here, okay? The case was decided by the Supreme Court. It's over. I can't come sue any of you. It's the procedure that happened. There's other procedures that a few people on this council know that have happened. And this is to rectify and maybe straighten out that it never happens again. But I'll keep using this thing. You want to keep twisting the pretzel, you'll get the result you want. But outside of this community, okay, people see it for what it is. If you're accused of something, you don't stay silent. You defend yourself. You may be right, you might be wrong, but silence gives one opinion. And that's all I think the people want to see is what is the true transparency. You all run on open government, you run on transparency, but there's an iron curtain in this room. So I don't know how you open it, but Mr. Bourget tried. Somewhere along the line, it will come out. And all the documents that you talk about, I've got all the documents. You're going to give the documents to me. I don't want a document. I got them all. My attorney gave me every piece of paper that ever went through the court, every correspondence that went through any attorney. So you're not giving me anything I don't have. The only thing I don't have is the mystery paper that Mr. Bourget said. That's the only paper that I don't have.
It's the one I gave to the council, one of previous meetings.
Ready, Bert?
I ended up to each council person. I'll tell you afterwards. I thought that was.
I'm Burton Mollahan. I live in Monterey Drive. And thank God we live in America. What a free country. We can get up and speak our piece. And we've had good councils. This is a good council. And we've had good councils before. I remember when Al Manning sat over there and Carl was over there. And there was a third one. Oh, yeah, Manning, Carl, and Benny. They were all in the same council together. And I watched those guys work back and forth. And they were great. And I've lived here for 50 years. And I've seen this town go through a lot of troubling times. Yeah, we've had other councils that pulled us out, got us back on the right track. And God bless our country and God bless our town.
Thank you, Bert.
Thanks.
I agree.
Any other public comment? And going back to 2005 was when I first started running. And there was one gentleman, as a Republican, I was in his living room doing work. And he was working against me running because his buddy was running against me. And the one thing he said to me, and it stuck with me from 2005 to now, and that's Leo Constantino. He said, listen, kid, from here till November, it's politics. After November, it's policy. I look forward, if you win, working with you. And that's stuck with me. Republican, Democrat, Independent, I didn't care. That quote is stuck with me since then. And I'll tell you what, every time I see that man, I thank him, and I always tell him right out, you gave me a lesson back in 2005. And I still see him on occasion when he's grocery shopping or whatever, and he still wonders how the town does. And he still, as a councilman back in 2005, 2006, when he was unelected, he still worries about this town. He still wonders what's going on. He still keeps an eye on it. So don't think people who walk away from this job or have walked away from this job don't keep an eye on what's going on in this town, because they were involved and we're involved. So again, like I said earlier, we all have the same goal in the end. We might not agree with each other, but in the end, it was said to me today, we all should be working together because this community all has the same goal in the end. And I agree with that. So that's what I'm closing with tonight.
Make a motion to adjourn.
No, we have to go into executive session.
Well, I'll make a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Have a good night.